When does the fantasy start?
Pursued. The Scorn are coming. They're the threat, not us.
I will gather the party and venture to the caverns.
This next room is like full of like webbing and webs. So you guys can all see very clearly 3 spiders on the ceiling. A shout of surprise and pain from Wiseswan. A 8-foot long white spider, its like mouth is like around her sword. You've made your way back to the little intersection you started at when you got down to this level. So you came down the stairs and you heard some rustling. You followed the rustling. You found spiders. That was down the left-hand path. Before you, you have what is now straight on that was previously the right-hand path, and what was once straight on and is now the left-hand path.
The pathway previously referred to as left.
Yeah.
GM. GM.
Yes.
I'm trying to summon him. I'd like a short rest, please.
Can we do a
You
short
may
rest?
try to short rest.
I have a note from the end of the last session. Remember to short rest.
Well done.
Okay.
Is it?
Try and
Yeah,
get
you
my,
can have a short rest, that's fine.
Thieves skills back.
It's a Constitution check.
Will
Will check.
Will.
Yes, I have the power.
and you can
have
do
the
1, 2, or 3
will.
will saves.
Nice.
I have regained the abuse of 1 thieves skill.
I have successfully short rested. On with the adventure.
Yeah.
I point down the corridor and tell Gary there's puppies. Gary, there's puppies.
Which corridor?
And kittens.
Which
forward.
corridor?
Can we move
Straight
on?
The one that
Let's move
the
on.
Straight-
corridor
straight-
was
move
previously known as
on.
left.
Let's move on.
So if you if you realign yourself to the stairs, if you come down the stairs, are you going straight on or right?
We're going to the corridor
Yeah.
formerly known as right,
Left.
left.
Which is
whichever
now
one
straight
we
on.
didn't go down. That's the one we go down.
No,
Well,
there's 2 we haven't been down
there's
on.
2 you haven't been down on. So okay, I'm going to describe them for you. So
Please.
you approach the intersection again after having a brief rest in the relatively safe room of spiderwebs, and you find yourselves. So there's the stairs back upstairs.
Which is to the left now.
No, that's to the right now. You've
To
gone
the
wrong
right.
way and you're
Oh,
right.
fuck it.
So the stairs are there.
I was so sure.
And then straight on from you is where you heard the dripping.
There.
And
That way.
then to the left of you now, which would have been straight on originally, the path kind of slopes down slightly.
I point Gary down the dripping
I follow the sound of dripping puppies.
Ew.
because they're dripping in cuteness.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
It's that way.
that's
Still kind of gross.
really disturbing. All right, yeah, I'll lead the way.
Okay, okay. How are you leading the way? Are you being cautious? Are you charging in?
No.
I think
He's
there's
Gary.
kittens down there.
He's being
Okay.
Gary.
So make of that what you will.
Okay, I shall indeed make of that what I will. And what I make of that is no, you are not being cautious.
Reckless
Um,
abandon.
Okay.
Nice.
Okie dokie. So
How horribly does he die?
No. How close are you behind him?
I'm
'Cause
not.
that That might be. So you've not followed him down the pathway. You've sent
Not
him
directly.
down there.
I haven't I'm not hot on his heels. I was trying to move this process on a little bit.
No, I know. It's just important as to know whether you followed him or what you're
I'm
doing.
not at the front.
How we're all going to die.
Who is following Gary? Is anyone following Gary?
I'm fucking watching him go.
I'm already down the corridor.
I will go
Jack.
with
What do I
Gary.
see?
I will follow him down, but cautiously behind him.
Okie dokie.
I'm bringing up the rear.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm at the back.
No, you're not, mate.
Me and Grandall fighting for last place.
And Wise Swan will follow you, Nyla. She'll kind of stay by your side.
Yeah, she will.
So, as you kind of walk down this corridor, I say walk, run. I assume.
I might say skip.
I was
Skip.
thinking
Okay,
skip.
Yeah. I kind of was as well. You.
Perfect.
Can he be giggling adorably as well? Like,
Anyone who's listening with artistic ability, please, I want fan art of that.
Okie dokie. So, you hear a kind of clunk as you kind of skip down. You think that's an unusual noise for puppies to make. And I'm going to need you to, if you would like, make a Lux deck check.
Luck dex check.
I think you mean, yeah.
I
not a
will
Lux
make that.
deck check.
Yeah, I
will
do mean
make
a Lux dex check. Yeah, a Lux dex check.
that's a hard thing to say, Jack. You're doing
So
great.
My mod
Surprisingly is.
has
Lux deck
recently
is
gone
a
down.
lighting deck.
I rolled a 16.
Oh no.
I needed
That
a
ain't good.
12.
Reroll?
Jack, hey, look at it's Mark. Hey, Jack.
You said look at me.
Do you look at me?
How?
Do you look at me in the eyes? Do I
Look
need to-
through that
do I need
nanny
to
cam
re-roll
you
this?
have in
John,
Mark's room.
executive decision. Yes, re-roll. 19.
That's worse.
Well.
I mean,
Well.
in a way, it's better, apart from it not being.
But you know what?
In
At least I
opposite
don't
land.
lose any luck.
How close are you
Yay.
behind him, Bex?
I'd say, well, if he's skipping off, I'd probably slowly be walking. So I'm guessing like 20 feet behind him.
In that case, you're going to need to make that Lux dex check as well.
Oh, cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Gary. Gary!
Once we know the results of those, I'll describe what happens.
I have passed. I rolled a 12 and I needed a 14.
So, you're kind of bounding to. Oh shit! Is Bear with you?
Oh, fuck.
He will be.
That's
No reason
so-
why he wouldn't be.
So is Wise Swan actually. So shields.
I was about to point that out as well. Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Bear makes it 2. He rolled a 7.
As long as it's not like save and take half damage, you might be in trouble.
He did
luckily,
heal a bit.
Wise
Yeah, I
Swan
know.
also makes. It's not a save and take half damage type dealy.
That's
Luckily. So Gary is skipping down this corridor. Wise Swan and Nyla are kind of heading up behind them, and Bear's kind of already padding along behind you, Nyla, feeling a little bit sorry for himself, but proud to have protected you guys. And
He's the best boy.
you hear Gary just kind of cry out in, I assume, pain.
Pleasure.
Oh.
Oh.
Sorry, which one was that?
Well, I'll
Both.
take that to my grave. You'll never know. What happens to me?
So,
Jack?
some scything blades burst out of the floor and essentially roll down what you now see to be a small channel down the center of the tunnel, and they slice at you and spin onwards. And luckily for Nyla, Wise Swan, and Bear, they kind of see it coming, I think, and manage to put themselves flat by the sides of the walls. And you are going to need to roll on the injuries and setbacks table.
Oh, no.
But I don't wanna.
And you also take some damage.
How much
Oh, that's-
damage?
Some.
20 points.
Now,
Fuck!
Jack, would you say
Christ.
that's quite angering? I would say
I mean,
so.
I can imagine it did annoy you. Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, that sends me into a rage, which I'm sure will dissipate before any combat or anything like that happens. But I do take half damage from that, but I do burn one of my rages.
It's probably a good use though.
Worth
I
doing,
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah.
It's a good use.
So
Otherwise,
do
I
me
would be
a
dead.
d20. Give me a d20.
I've got the table open.
It's a 3.
Oh, oh, oh.
Oh, oh.
Your move speed is halved, and you require a crutch or peg leg to walk.
You may no longer skip.
He
Yeah,
can. He
essentially
just
you
looks
have-
really ungainly.
My skipping leg!
You have a leg injury, so essentially when this scything blade is burst out of the floor, it's like sliced your leg up real bad. And I think that probably needs seeing to pretty quick. Essentially, you're going to have disadvantage on movement-based dex checks.
Ugh.
You need to make a luck con save.
Okay. That's an 8.
Is that
I
save?
need- Yes.
Yeah, it will be.
Yes,
Cool.
it does.
So that means that Elias, you'll be able to tell him this, but essentially that means that your limb can be saved, and it will take 2 months of rest. But then after that, it will be up to normal again.
Ugh.
If you failed that con save, you would have lost the leg completely.
Jack,
Ugh.
that's pretty bad. Jack, can I ask for some clarification on the description of this injury?
Yes, you can.
So it says your move speed is half. That's great, and then no, not great, but you know, I understand that.
It's a bit harsh, Bex.
Gary can no longer skip. I'm ecstatic.
Uh,
But then the next bit says you require a crutch or peg leg to walk. Those are two very different things.
I think it's based on whether or not the leg is
You keep
lost.
the leg.
Right,
Yeah.
I see.
So, so Gary needs a crutch to walk now, and if he'd lost the leg,
Okay.
he would need a peg leg.
Right, that's cool. Because I'm like, oh, you just like mangled your foot a little bit. Better cut it off and stick a peg leg on. And
Well-
that just seems like a little bit mean.
To be fair, if we tried to convince Gary of that, it wouldn't be hard.
But we're not evil.
No, I know. Lucky for Gary.
Yeah, lucky for Gary, he took like 1,000,000 points of damage and lost his foot almost.
Lucky.
Um,
Whoa.
Yeah,
That-
so Gary is currently lying on the floor with bleeding profusely from his leg, angry as all hell.
He's so angry,
Yeah, well,
guys.
I'm going to go and do some apothecary. on that
okay.
shit.
I'll be
Just
very
an
careful.
Yeah, be careful.
What is the next? So once that injury has happened, what is the next thing that any of you do?
I was going to ask, actually, Jack. I think we did discuss it briefly last time, but can you just remind me, what do we know about what this place was before it was the...
The rumors say that it was a dwarven, outpost.
stronghold or something?
But,
Yeah, okay.
but that you kind of don't know whether that's true. It's beginning to look like it might be more true than people think.
Yeah, based on the
Um,
traps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd like to see if I can find the mechanism for this thing, make sure it's properly deactivated.
Yeah, so essentially when you approach it, you can want to give me a traps and locks check.
Cool.
I assume everyone else is staying still.
I'm not moving a fucking muscle.
Yeah, I'm
That-
stuck to the wall. I don't know how Bear is also stuck to the wall, but we are.
I rolled a 4, which is a great success.
Okay, yeah, so you get there and you kind of see the pressure plate that
Mhm.
that triggered this, and you kind of realise that essentially anybody that steps on that going forward is going to trigger it again and again and again. You also know that the only way to stop it from continuously triggering is going to be to, trigger it and jam something in the blades to stop it from being able to the mechanism to go again.
Okay, I can't jam something in the plate itself and stop it.
Potentially, that would be you would need a great success to do that as opposed to the jamming in the blades, which is an easier one.
Right, okay.
So if you want to give a try at doing the pressure plate, you can give me a traps and locks.
Yeah.
And you'll need a great success. And if you get a great success, then that's fine. Otherwise, you'll be fine
We'll see.
regardless, unless you get a great failure, and that means you'll trigger the trap on yourself. Which means
Fair
you'll
enough.
have to do next.
Fair enough. I don't think I can do a great fail on a dex, so that should be all right. "Ooh," he says, rolling an 18. Which, to be fair, that's
Damn.
not a great failure. It's just a failure.
Yeah. So, I think in that instance, you just don't manage to stop it or lock it.
Okay. I'll activate it and try doing the stopping the blades instead.
Is Gary like
Yeah, I'm going to move
really
out of the
badly
way.
injured right now?
I imagine my rages don't actually last that long mechanically. So afterwards, when I'm whimpering and crying, on
Can
the floor,
Gary come back to us?
I'm not.
Do you trust
Try.
Gary to make that?
How?
I rolled on traps and locks for stopping the blades, and I got a 15, which is a success.
Yeah,
Just.
you can jam something. You probably you'll need to literally put something in there. So tell me what you're going to use out of your inventory to do that.
How big does it need to be? Because I was thinking I might just jam a gold coin in.
Yeah, you could probably put something like that in there. Yeah. I say a coin would probably do it. With a great success the first time, you kind of have a very good idea of where it needs to go. So yeah, that should be fine.
Awesome.
It's not a particularly big spinning blade, but it is a nasty one. So
Do I recognize it as being dwarven manufacture now that it's sort of stopped and I can look at it?
Give me list of stats.
General law?
Yeah, give me general law. Yeah.
That's a 19, which is definitely a fail.
No, it doesn't. You don't think it looks particularly dwarven? No more than
Okay.
any weapon does.
Fair enough. Alright, I've stopped it from moving. We should be alright, at least in this corridor.
Elias.
Yes, Gary, I'm coming.
Elias. My leg hurts.
I'm going to go and do an apothecary check.
Okay.
As Elias is doing that, I just lean in, whisper to him, and I say, "Now, he's quite injured, and at some point, you're going to have to tell him that there aren't any puppies."
It was kittens, by the way.
Just kittens.
Just in.
Yeah,
in-
but
I
now
thought
there's
it was
puppies as
both.
well.
No, it
It's
wasn't.
both
It was
now.
both,
100% kittens.
I got an 8, which is
You have to tell him there aren't any of those
a
either.
great success. Just.
Yeah, so you'll be able
Nice.
to kind of explain. Oh, not explain. You'll be able to figure out all the stuff I told you about his wound. It will heal. It'll take 1d3 months, which I will roll.
I
said 2
have-
months tonight. It'll take 2 months.
You
to
did.
go through
You did
that.
say 2 months.
I have been failing miserably to find the thing in the book that tells me that apothecary is very specifically for helping injuries heal better.
Oh, awesome.
That's what it, because it doesn't give hit points back,
No.
but it is specifically used to aid in the healing of the injuries from the injuries and setback table. But I can't find it. It's in here somewhere. So I don't know mechanically what that does.
I think it will just mean that if you're administering to him over those 2 months, it will reduce the heal time. So let's say it'll mean it'll only take a month to heal fully rather than 2.
It
So
says
that's halving
on
the time.
it says
Nice.
under healer's kit, John.
Is it healer's kit? Is it right?
Yeah, it says additionally tending with the apothecary skill allows the character to roll with advantage for injury recovery times.
Oh.
Nice.
So we'll just say it halved the one I'd already said. 'cause
Okay,
that makes
fair enough.
sense. Cool. So yeah, you know that that's going to be the case, and you can also tell that he is going to need some sort of crutch to be able to continue walking.
I take the scythe off Gary that he's been carrying since we were in the barn,
Yeah.
That's true.
and I'm guessing it's got like the little handles on it because it's not
Yep.
just a pole with. Is there any way we can like snap it to make a crutch and use like?
You could probably just take the blade off, and it would be relatively.
Or
if you
that.
then wound something round the top of it to put underneath his armpit, that would probably be okay.
I do that.
I take the blade.
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Elias.
I've made you a crutch.
Sigh.
I've made you a crutch, Gary.
Thank you.
You look like a fucking idiot now, but
You're
good
a
job.
crutch, Gary.
At least you're an alive idiot.
True.
with both legs. With
Yeah.
both legs.
Always look on the bright side, Gary.
I'll try.
No more running off, Gary. Let's just take this slow and steady.
I love how pathetic sounding this half scorn is.
But
I
saying
had
that,
a
Gary,
boo-boo.
onwards.
my leg.
We
made me
can
really
talk.
angry.
Nothing has happened to me yet. Poor Gary has like almost lost his leg.
Nothing happened to me.
He'll be alright. Right, let's keep moving.
Let's
go.
Okay, you're going to carry on moving down the same corridor.
Yes.
I'd like to.
Not unless we can rest for a month until his
I'd
leg
like to
gets
make a
better.
detection check for any other traps there might be.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that.
16. It's perception and net bollocks. No, that's a fail. Everything looks fine.
Wait, what did you say the roll was?
I rolled a 16.
Oh, okay,
My
sorry, yeah.
Perception is 15, so it's a fail.
Yeah, there doesn't appear to be any more traps down this corridor that you can see at least. Obviously, I imagine that Gary dropped his torch, so it's just Wise Swan that's got one now, so you're kind of peering into the dark. But yeah, it looks like it's pretty good. You will notice one thing, even with a failure, actually. This corridor does seem to be getting kind of more cleanly cut. Like, the tunnel towards the spiders is definitely, like, naturally forming at least a little bit. Like, it was like a naturally formed tunnel that had been, like, widened. This is definitely kind of getting more to the point where it's, like, made an effort to be more uniform. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can kind of head down this. Who's taking the lead in this one?
Maybe
Gary.
you should go. Well,
Gary,
well,
poor Gary.
I was going to say, Grandall will go very carefully forward, kind of, with his not quite dark vision and his dwarven knowledge, looking out for anything that
Okay. Yeah.
might be bad. But, like, super slow. Like, annoyingly slow for anybody behind him.
No,
That's fine.
having seen what happened, Nyla is totally like 10 feet back from you, but also eagle-eyed visioning, trying to see anything.
So you can kind of ease down this tunnel. Excuse me. The fact that you're going so slow will mean that any checks that you do, I will give you advantage on, because you are really
Nice.
making an effort to make sure that you don't set any traps off.
Not letting that happen again.
Yeah. So you get to the end of this corridor actually, and you find the source of the dripping. Essentially, the dripping is coming from a large wooden door, and the dripping sound is coming from the handle, which is like a kind of it's one of those handles that you have like it's like the D shape coming out of the door with the latch, like do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
turnable.
yeah.
No, not turnable. Like you have the little
just
thing
a
you
solid-
press down with your thumb to
Suffolk
lift the
latch.
latch. On
I think
the
you'll
front.
find
I
it's called a
see, yeah, I
Suffolk
gotcha.
latch.
See, I knew that one of the kitchen boys would be able to tell me.
One of the kitchen boys. Those personal boys certainly know kitchens and handles.
Apparently.
So it's one of those, a big old iron one, and this is like a wooden door with iron banding, and the dripping is coming from water that's kind of building up on the handle and then dripping onto the stone floor underneath, and there's a little puddle, and there's a little bit of water kind of seeping out from under the door as well.
What sized humanoid does this door look like it was built for?
Gary probably couldn't touch the top of the archway of the door.
Wow, okay. It's bloody big.
It's a very big door. It almost looks like it should be a double door, but they've made it a single door.
And the water that's dripping onto the handle is just coming from the
It's just
sort of stone
like,
above.
seeping through the door.
Oh, I see, okay. I would like to check the door for traps.
Do that. Give me that
And-
traps and locks.
Can I also do a detection? Because I want to get a sense of whether or not, like, the reason that there's water dripping through is because the room on the other side is full of water.
You may do that, yes.
So I will do traps and locks first,
Okie dokie.
which is a 15, which is a success. And the detection...
Can I inside check the GM?
I got a 9 on my perception, my detection roll, which is a success.
You don't see any traps or locks. Well,
Cool.
There is a lock, but you don't think it is locked.
Okay.
The door opens inwards,
Right.
which you think is the reason why it's still closed, because you kind of hear like almost like tidal. It's that you hear like the movement of water, like it's slapping on the door, and when it slaps on the door, a little bit of more water comes through, and that's where the buildup of water is coming from. So it kind of is like the room isn't full of water, but like
There's
you
a lot in
probably
there.
think there's quite a bit in there. Like you would be underwater if you were stood in the room because you are only a short man.
So what you're saying is it's underwater.
For you, yes.
Mostly.
Maybe not for Gary. 'Cause he's
Mostly.
taller.
And this is the end of this corridor. There's just this door and nothing else, is there?
What did you get on your detection roll?
9. Normal success.
No, that's all you can see.
Okay. Yeah, I meant there's no like other corridors going off or anything.
No, there's no like big corridors going either way.
Cool. Okay. Well, I relay the situation of some kind of moving water being on the other side of this door to the rest of the team. What do you want to do? I mean, I reckon I can try opening it, but it's going to flood the corridor, I think.
I mean, I would be very interested to see what's causing this perpetual downpour within the room, but anything that's in there is likely to be waterlogged, isn't it?
True. I mean, it might be the only way through. I don't know. I mean, what do we reckon? I'm quite curious, I'll be honest.
I'm super curious. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm very curious as well. Do you think like if we just like let a little bit of water out at a time, we can like maybe?
I mean, if you think you're up to holding it while I open it.
I am. What's the opposite of curious?
Guys,
I'm
so
that.
I don't remember. Did I say it opened out? It opens in.
Inwards,
Into the
yeah.
room. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, if we tried to open it, we probably couldn't.
Oh, yeah, we
water
couldn't.
push it
It's going to
back.
be.
Oh, but
You might be
you did
able
say
to, but it's going to be hard to open because also there's water on the inside.
Do you
Can I
think-
just?
go on?
No, no, I don't. This
Sorry,
is
can I
the worst
interrupt you
idea.
as well? Just before you finish that thought, Elias. There is magic in that room.
Even still, even with the tingle,
I just thought that maybe that would change your
No,
your.
we
your
were sent down here
balance.
to make this place safe, so people could retreat into it if necessary. And you're talking about flooding it,
Well,
like that is bad. That
I mean,
bad.
He's making a fair point. I'll be honest. I'd completely forgotten why we were down here.
Can we? Can we maybe?
You've put me underground. There's stuff to explore. I'm a dwarf. What do you expect?
I know, but what we should do is this: turn round, fuck the door off, go down the other corridor, then go back upstairs, fight the band of Scorned, then come downstairs and search this place.
but what if there's like
We need to get rid of all the threats from down here,
Yeah,
otherwise
we're-
it's not an
we're-
escape.
Yeah, but we're making a threat by flooding it.
yeah, but
Well, all right. Let's compromise. Let's go back, see what's down the other corridor, because it might be that there's nothing, and this is the only way we need to sort this out.
yeah,
you know?
because this one was
Yeah.
just so much fun. This corridor.
I mean, it's also worth noting that
It wasn't.
we've got this.
It wasn't to make it safe so they can escape from the tunnels. It was somewhere to actually put the people who couldn't fight.
But if there is an escape, surely that's, pretty good.
I'd like to point out a few things. Now, we've got a bloody great big door here. We've got the sound of moving water on the other side, and this corridor, which only leads to this door, was trapped. All of that combined suggests to me that something on the other side of this door might be important, or valuable, or useful, or some combination of the three.
No, I know this doesn't happen very often, right? But I think I've got a really good idea. Okay, now Elias, just hear me out, right? What if, right, we make a little hole in the door to slowly release the water on the other side, and then like make it safe to go in. You don't know there's not like a shark on the other side that'll burst out and kill everyone that comes down here. You don't know that.
Can't argue with that, I suppose.
Can you?
That's
can
a
you-
good point.
Can you promise me there's not a shark in there, Elias?
There is
Jack,
definitely not a shark on the other side of that door.
can I
Load of
do Jack?
Drowned puppies and kittens.
Oh,
Jack, can I
imagine.
do a wilderness law, an wilderness law and animal law to make myself convinced that there's no shark beyond this door.
If that's what you need to do, you do that.
I will do that. I want to make us all feel much better. There's no shark. What do you want? Wilderness law?
Let me just see what we do.
Oh, they're both intelligent, so it doesn't matter. That's
Give
a
me
success.
wilderness law. Yeah.
That's a success. It's a 10.
So what you know about sharks is that generally they're found in the sea.
I know.
Not in dungeons.
It's not the sea, as far as you know.
But is the water that's spilling out of the door salty in any way?
I taste it.
Would you like to taste it?
I
he
do
tastes
taste it.
No, it's not. It's fresh.
Ooh.
Poisoned. Now you are dead.
You do get, however, freshwater crocodiles and alligators.
Now, Elias, I'm big enough to admit that I'm not the cleverest man in the world. So maybe I'm going to take your advice. Maybe we should just check out the other corridor first.
I agree.
I just think flooding the one place that we're trying to make safe is the opposite of what we were charged to do.
I'm just,
I just
using
really want to know
logic's
what's
not a
in
lot
there.
of fun. I'm just saying.
Oh, I mean, there's magic behind that door, so I mean,
Yeah, I really want to go in there, but I think Elias is right.
Let's
we
do
should
the
check
other
the
one
way first.
first. And if the kittens aren't down the other corridor, then unfortunately, Elias, I'm just going to have to make an executive decision. And if they're drowning, I can't live with that on my conscience.
I mean, they'll be dead by the time we get back, Gary.
You don't know
Cats
that.
can swim.
You
That's
don't
just going to
know
make him
that.
open the door now.
Let's go down
Okay,
the other
all right.
corridor. Let's go down the other
I just turn around and just walk away because
So you head back down the other corridor, yeah? Yeah, you can do that. That's not a problem. You go back away. You get back to the turning, and you turn back down to this corridor that slopes slowly downwards. This corridor, similarly, after about 4 or 5 minutes of walking, also starts to become slightly more cleanly hewn. And as you kind of get further down the corridor, it gets to the point where it's like very, very neatly cut. It's now like a dungeon, like not a dungeon. It's like a
cellar?
no, what's the word? It's like
Crypt.
it's a
Corridor.
corridor. It's a corridor rather than a tunnel.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So this is now a kind of a corridor in an underground something.
Hewn stone, or whatever
Yeah,
the word is.
it's completely like straight walls, nicely cut ceiling. You know, the little kind of diagonal bits on the tops where the kind of join between ceiling and wall is. It's very nicely done. You admire the craftsmanship of the stone.
Okay. As soon as we come into the area that is a corridor, I want to check for traps.
Okie dokie, you can do that.
Traps and locks again, yeah?
Yep, that's the one.
That is a 14, which is a success.
Yeah, you don't actually see any traps on this one. Not as yet. There's nothing down here. Down this bit of corridor that you're in. Obviously, as you keep moving, you have the choice of either progressing slowly and keeping an eye out and then doing continuous checks, or you can just kind of call out when you want to do a check. If I'm going to keep describing it as it changes, that's up to you how you kind of want to go with this. How careful do you want to be?
Having determined that this bit isn't dangerous, to the best of my knowledge, I'm going to keep walking at normal pace and just keep an ear out for whatever you tell us next for the moment.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. So, you carry on down this corridor, and Nyla, Bear starts acting a bit weird.
I will look at him and using my, Animal Ken, I'll be like, "What's up, Bear?"
He's not really making any sense. Kind of almost like the messages he's sending you are like almost nonsensical. Like they don't make any sense. They're things that definitely aren't relevant to the situation, like things about like being at home and prowling around the forest and stuff like that. It's kind of just almost like random thoughts. And he's walking along with you fine. He's just like being a bit more overtly affectionate to you, like rubbing his face on your leg and stuff as you're walking, and like walking round you in circles as you're kind of traveling.
That's really hard when it's a tiger rather than a cat.
Yeah,
In this small tunnel.
Yeah, so he's just being really like weirdly playful, and not really making much sense when he comes to like just like talking to you.
I'm gonna stop then, and I'm gonna like kneel on the floor, and I'm just gonna like put my hands on his face and just like try and sort of not calm him down, but just try and like bring him back, I guess. Like just try and connect with him a little bit to try and get him back to the way he normally is, because this is weird.
Okay, so
Especially
you're
in
going
this
to crouch
situation.
down and kind of connect with him for a moment.
Yeah, I'm just gonna spend like a minute just looking him in the eye and trying to keep him happy. I don't know.
Yeah, so you can do that. You can kind of give me animal whatever it is, animal
Law?
handling.
Oh, is it animal handling?
Is there not animal handling? I thought there was.
Animal law.
Animal law.
Animal law. They give me animal law.
Okay. Right. Oh God, it's cocked. That would be a 10, and I need a 15, so that's a success.
Yeah, so you spend a minute. You kind of you focus him back on yourself,
Mhm.
and he does kind of focus a bit more. He kind of you see his eyes like focus in on you, and he is just kind of almost gives you the kind of what sort of look. As if,
I'd
as
be
if
like,
to
"Hey,
be
bud.
like
Hey, bud.
why are you looking at me like this? Why aren't we carry on walking type thing?
Where'd you go? You sort of. Oh, you okay?
He doesn't know what you're talking about. He seems fine. Yeah, he's fine.
I'm gonna reach into my pouch and take out a little bit of like jerky, and like just feed him a little bit.
Yeah, he'll eat that happily.
Yeah, and I'll keep walking, but I'm gonna keep a close eye on him.
Okay. Yeah, you can kind of carry on, and Grandall, you'll notice about another maybe. So this pathway has been just straight as an arrow, like it is completely straight. The slope is not so steep that you're kind of, when it's like a gradual enough slope that you don't feel like you're moving any faster.
Mm-hmm.
You know how sometimes the slope is just a little bit too steep and you end up kind of almost half running.
Yeah.
But it's quite a happy slope, and you get to a point after about another 10, 15 minutes of walking when there is a bend. It's a right angle, and you can kind of, as you approach it, you can see that it turns off, as I say, to the right, obviously. And on the wall that you kind of are facing is a quite worn mural.
Okay.
The mural depicts a group of dwarves. So it looks like it goes on like further than you can see along the kind of the right-hand turn. But from the bit of it that you can see...
style.
Sorry?
Bayer tapestry style.
Yeah. So the bit of it you can see, it's probably about 10 foot of it, or 15 foot of it wide, because that's about how wide the corridor is, and then it kind of is hidden by the darkness. But the bit that you can kind of see clearly in the torchlight is a kind of what looks like a battle, maybe. And there's like dwarves that are kind of, I say dwarves, stylized dwarves. It's quite it's not like a oil painting. It's like it's kind of like you say, like Bayeux style rendition. Very traditional dwarvish kind of mural of dwarves kind of bursting from the earth and charging across to the right of this painting. And the colours are very like dark, earthy, like really deep reds and like really dark greens. And it's really like kind of stone and earth, and like the sky above them is quite dark. It's a clear day, but it's depicted in a manner where the sky is like a really dark blue that you can kind of tell it's daytime almost, because of kind of the way that that it's been depicted. And the top of at the very top, in essentially just into your vision, to the very top right hand corner of what you can actually see a stylized depiction of the sun above, which is depicted as this huge, like, gold orb in the sky. So that's what you can kind of see, and all of you can see this as you approach. It's very obvious on this wall, beautiful painting, and it's from the midpoint. So along this, it's almost like a what's the word? Like, you know, the rails that go along the middle of the rooms.
Yeah.
It's like that.
It
kind of
rail.
Yeah. It cuts the wall in half, and the
Data
top
rail?
half is the yeah. It's like a data rail. The top half is like that, and then the bottom half is just kind of the nice, smoothly hewn stone.
From the sort of the depiction and, you know, having seen similar things before in my life, can I get a sense of maybe how old this is?
Give me law.
Okay. It's intelligence, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, that's a 10. Ah, shit, which is a fail because my intelligence is 9. Never mind.
No, you don't recognize.
I don't get bonuses for it being dwarf shit that I'm good at.
No, unfortunately, you're not really a historian.
I'm really not.
Let me have a look. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my page. Does anybody else want to do anything with looking at it? Are you just going to carry on moving, looking at it, move around the corner?
Yeah.
Move around the corner.
I want to look at the painting in more detail, and especially the sky. Like, if it's supposed to be daytime but the sky's so dark, is there a natural reason that would happen?
So I assume you do this kind of approaching.
Yeah.
So as you approach it, because you're obviously still probably about 10, 15 foot back, this is kind of the detail you can see as you're approaching this corner. You get to the corner, and you probably find that Wise Swan moves up with you with the torch, because she's interested as well. She wants to see this mural. So as you kind of get to this corner, you realise it is a corner, but it's actually it then turns again straight back on yourself. So it's almost like the ramp has come down to this flat section and then continues being a ramp again when it turns all the way back round.
It's a dwarven parking lot.
So it's like a double back staircase, but with a ramp.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Sorry, in my brain I couldn't visualize it, but that makes sense.
So and this mural is on the kind of the wall of the flat piece. That makes sense.
Okay.
Can I do another general law check, please, Jack? I'd like to see if I recognize, from what I can see on the mural, if I can just say, oh yeah, this was the Battle of whatever.
You can certainly try.
Less than a 9. A 3! Great success!
Yay.
No, you don't know.
Doesn't ring, like, genuinely, this doesn't ring any bells. All of the stories you've been told about the Dwarf Wars are all like they're always depicted in a way that's like really bright. Like all of the tapestries are normal, or tapestries, murals, paintings. The dwarves are depicted as this kind of hearty, cheery race, whereas now you're really kind of looking at it in more detail. You notice the dwarves are almost depicted as this kind of angry, subterranean, like, menace almost. It's kind of the way that you think that is intended that you kind of take this on. And that kind of makes a little bit more sense when you see the left-hand side of the mural.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the left-hand side of the mural, where the sun becomes the moon, and the sky is depicted as bright, full of stars, you see elves bursting from the forest, charging to the centre of the painting as well. And where the dwarves are depicted as short, stumpy, angry-looking things, The elves are depicted as this beautiful, elongated race of fair feline creatures that are kind of, with bow and sword charging justly across the field.
So, if I had to guess, I'd be assuming that the dwarves are being basically portrayed as the villains in this thing, which suggests that they
if anyone
didn't
looking
make
at
it
this
themselves.
would suggest that was the case.
What do I
But
get from it, Jack?
But elves don't make dungeons. That doesn't make any sense.
Does it mean anything to me?
Elias,
Hang on.
Elias,
Sorry, go on, guys.
the thing you notice, Elias, is that in between the dwarves and the elves, stood directly beneath the part where the sun and the moon are kind of joined, bathed equally in light and darkness, is a single man. Clearly human.
Is it me?
No, it's not.
Damn.
What a twist!
That would have been good. That would have been good.
Does it
Stood
kind
with
of
a chainsaw instead of a hand.
does it conjure anything like folktale?
Give me lore.
Anything from my divine lore? Anything like that?
Give me any lore you would like.
Can
Show
I
me potato salad.
can I do one for the elven bit?
Absolutely can.
Okay, cool.
It's a 3.
Mine's an 11, so that's a success.
Great success.
Yes, none of you have read or have heard of any story that would fit this.
Okay.
Did you get a great success? Elias?
I did. Yeah.
And that was on that's just on lore, wasn't it?
I have all of the laws.
Yeah. So just in general. I'm going to say it was general lore because it's not anything specifically religious or arcane at all. One thing springs to mind. Something you read in a book that you read in your master's library.
Was it More Magazine?
No, it was the book of elven fairy tales.
All right. Yeah.
The very old book of elven fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
That said,
Not to be confused with the big book of elven fairy tales.
that mentioned. So one of the stories, you're only getting this because you got great success. One of the stories mentions the tale of the never-ending day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all you get from it. It's like a character in the story refers to an older story than the story that's being told. And the fact that this is being portrayed as a day that looks like night and a night that looks like day, that just kind of pops into your head, especially with the elves present, and that's kind of the story that it was from in the elven fairy tale is one of the stories where they're fighting the dwarves. So it kind of just all of those things combined. That's the only thing that you can kind of think of that might be relevant. But even then, you're like you kind of know you're grasping.
I mean, I'll mention that to Nyla for 2 reasons. One, to see if she can help with any of that, and also to just impress her. Look, I know a thing.
Do I know anything, Jack?
You know nothing.
Give me another lore check.
Another law.
Advantage.
Ooh. Well, that's a 2, so that's a great success.
The tale of the endless day, or the tale of the longest night, which is one of those stories with like both titles, is a very old story, one of the first stories ever told about Berethir.
Oh man. Okay, yeah.
Like before he became like a children's tale, when he was still kind of a revered legendary hero.
Oh, Berethir the Elven Prince, I say, all like peacocky and puff chest.
I'm just gonna look at you and like narrow my eyes as I'm trying to explain to you via Jack what this is about.
So it's not a story that anyone really tells that often. It's a bit of a shit story.
Yeah, the
Because
early
it's one
ones
of
weren't
those-
the best.
No, because all you really get from the story is there was a day that never ended and a night that lasted forever. Berethir fought the ones who had brought it, and with their aid ended it. And that's kind of the story. And it's like a riddle almost, more than it is actually a tale. And that's why it's not very popular. But it's because you're like a massive Berethir geek, so that's why you know that. That's why I gave you advantage, because your character,
yay!
like Nyla knows everything there is to know about Berethir. Like,
I do. Why do you think bear is called Berethir?
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, all there is to know is that there was an elven prince named Berethir.
No. There's like literally dozens of children's stories about Berethir, and I just start going off on one about them, and I'm like, so my grandmother used to teach them to me, and they were amazing. So like he used to go on travels all throughout the world, and he met like dwarven lords and a half-scorn princess and fairies and lost children and dragon, and oh my god, he's the best. He's like the coolest thing. And then I pull out of my bag like my notebook. And I like move to the end of it where I've written down all the tales that I can remember, and there's like literally a dozen of them. And so I just like start. Obviously, it's written in Elvish, so none of you can read it. But I'm like pushing it into Elias's face, going like, "Look, he was so cool. He's like the best."
Elias could read Elvish because
That's
how he
can.
learned to
can he?
speak it.
I can.
Yeah. That's why his accent's so crap.
Okay, so I hand you my.
Yeah, because I can
hand you my
read
book.
it quite proficiently, but I'd never spoken it, so that's why. Yeah.
So I hand you my notebook very carefully because it's very precious, and I just start like flicking through it and like telling you about the stories, which you can read yourself. But yeah, I'm super nerding out. So
I would quite like to have a proper read of that, Nyla. Probably not when we're close to certain death.
in fact, when I was like, just ignore you. Like when I was a little bit older, I started writing my own Berethir.
Fan fiction.
Fanfic.
Yeah, totally. And so I go into my bag and I pull out another book, which is like the same width, which is I just start flicking through, and there's like again like 20 stories that I've written about Berethir myself, and just like him basically, because the last story in the collection, and I start going on like it's about him getting married to like this elven princess, and it's like kind of boring because it's about him taking on duties and becoming like a leader of the elven towns, and that didn't really satisfy me. So I basically did ones where he went out into the world and did more adventures, and it's so cool. And yeah, I just like start going off on one.
What's down the second ramp? Gary wonders.
So
No,
down
I
the
will,
second.
I will take you to my master's library. He does have quite an extensive collection of elven tales and lore, and there is a section on Berethir himself. So
Cool. I'd love
maybe
to
he's
see
got
that.
something you've not seen or heard before, possibly.
I mean, I see
Doesn't sound like it, but
No.
maybe.
See what I did there? I seeded something in a backstory.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's
10
good
points.
storytelling,
Well
Jack.
done,
Oh
Jack.
yeah.
You just won. You just leveled up as a GM.
Yeah, down the other ramp is it's another ramp that kind of just leads off straight down again. But this one is kind of the gradient is steeper. It definitely looks like it'll take a little bit more effort, especially for you, Gary, on a crutch. I think it's going to be more difficult for you to kind of travel down this one.
Do you think?
I have
alright,
an
we'll-
idea.
We'll take it nice and slow. Watch out for anything.
What's your idea?
It requires a little bit of backtracking on my behalf. Why don't we flood this downstairs section?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just flood it. It
Just-
seems like the perfect place for water.
We
to
could
go.
dam off the top so all of the water runs down this slope.
But what if there's like stuff at the bottom?
I mean, there's going to be
That's the
stuff,
thing, like-
Gary. I mean,
I like
that is a given.
We don't even know who made this.
Does it matter?
What if there's like
I'm curious.
I mean, I'm curious, but
I mean, I've never come
but
across
again,
a mural
there is a
dwarves
scorn
in
army
darkness fighting elves
approaching from above. Time is not something that we were giving a lot of. It was a time-sensitive mission.
Aye, but
yeah, but we keep like going.
not like
down
we've got any
corridors and,
ties
like,
to this place, you
not
know.
checking them out, and that's really upsetting me. I don't know if you ever
I mean-
played the game Diablo, but like, you really, you gotta look at all
Every
the
corner.
bits. Every corner.
Yeah. Jack, can I like listen down the thing, see if I can hear any
You can.
noises.
Yeah, give me detection. Elias, one other thing about that guy you notice on the painting, he is definitely like wearing robes, but they're very thin and they're kind of pale in the dark on the kind of the dwarven side and dark on the elven side, and they kind of look not dissimilar from the kind of robes that you've seen like yourself and other mages wear, but they definitely look lighter, like less protective. And his hand, I didn't have a chance to give you any more detail on him. He's got one hand outstretched to each side of him, and there's definitely kind of the artistic impression of like magic around his hands. Do you know what I mean? Like wavy lines and stuff. Like, I just thought I didn't have a chance to say that to you. And make sure you got all of the stuff from the picture.
Yeah.
I failed my
note.
I failed my detection, Jack.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know what that means in terms of you hearing. Do you just go deaf for a minute?
No, I didn't terrible fail. I just failed. my ears fall off and my eyes fall out and everything goes very dark and very, very horrible.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the way I feel. Alright? We've got this mural, which is very interesting, and I'd like to know more, potentially by going downstairs. There's a magic thing in a room full of water. I'd quite like to know what that is as well. Also, we've never been here before. We're not beholden to this place or its people. You know, if we find an exit, we could just go out that way and not bother with the Scorn army.
There was a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in there, because I'd say it was much more likely that we were either going to die horribly down here or not find an exit and get trapped with the Scorned army above us. That seems definitely much more likely.
So what you're saying is that most likely we're going to die?
If we stay down here, yes. I think that's the...
I'm a dwarf. I feel more comfortable down here than I do up there.
I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but if this mural is pointing to a story about Barathir, then maybe there's something cool down here, like a lost story or something. It might be so... Oh, Elias, please, can we go down, please?
I mean, I'm intrigued, but I don't want to die today.
Well...
No one does?
No. But Elias...
And you called yourself an adventurer.
I'm going to do puppy dog eyes, like big old eyes. And I'm going to make my elven ears, like, droop slightly.
Yeah, Grandall makes his beard look sad.
Ow!
That's for the listener to imagine.
Just as a point of interest, Wise Swan is currently stood, like, literally right in front of this mural. Like, staring at the sun and moon.
I will go over to her and go like, "Are you a Barathir fan as well? He's like the best."
She'll turn to you and just kind of gesture to her necklace that you noticed, which is the sun and moon. In the same kind of formation.
Oh, okay.
And just say, I've been looking for a sign, and this is the first thing I've found.
I roll my eyes.
So Wise Swan really wants to go down as well, huh? Well, I think that makes 3 out of 5 of us, and Bear, of course, who definitely wants to explore. So that's 4 out of...
Does he though?
Yeah.
Does he though?
Yes.
Does he though?
I look at Bear and I'm like, come on, dude.
Back me up. Come on, man.
Back me up, man.
Yeah, Bear is just like, yeah, sure.
There you go. He's totally with me.
I love that what Elias would have seen is Nyla going, look, he's with us, aren't you? Tiger noise. See?
Okay, let's go. Let's do this.
Alright.
in character voice.
Going at the constantly checking pace, please.
Okay,
What
sorry,
with
I'll
it being
just turn
extra
back
steep?
to my page of traps.
Well, it was nice knowing you guys.
Can I have a marching order, please? That might be important.
I'm going first, detecting.
I'll go second.
Back.
Cool, and then Wise Swan and Gary will be in the middle. I think Wise Swan will probably give Gary a hand because she'll see that you start to struggle, Gary, and she'll kind of say, look, and almost put your arm over her shoulder and like kind of almost be the crutch for you down this particularly steep slope if you'll allow her. So give me some detection checks, please, Grandall.
Okay.
At advantage.
I say, can
Ooh,
I
I'm
assist?
so glad you said that. Because the first roll was a 15, which is a fail. The second roll was a 4, which is a great success. Actually, it's perception, so a 15 would have got me as well. So I have one great success and one normal success.
You kind of head down this corridor. You've gotten in your head a little bit, and you keep noticing like little cracks and things. You're like, oh, it's not anything. And, a couple of times you're like, oh shit, is that like a place where a blaze is gonna come out, or you think you see like some places where like hidden darts might shoot out from, but they turn out to be nothing more than just natural kind of cracks in the stonework. After another, I'm going to say another 10-15 minutes of walking down. So Elias, this is not specifically because of this, but it's just popped in my head. Your detect magic spell, the Pierce the Veil, probably run out by the end of this.
My Pierce the Veil lasts 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
Still going.
I thought someone said it lasts half an hour. So
No,
I thought it did.
It's
I thought it did.
2d4 hours it lasts
okay, cool.
for.
We good then.
We good.
So yeah, you carry on down this corridor. It takes about another 15-20 minutes to get to the next like leveling point. At this point, it doesn't turn back on itself. It's not the same deal as above. It opens out into this huge room. And by huge room, I literally mean like you can't see any walls in
any
torchlight,
direction.
in any direction other than the wall against where you come out of.
Mm-hmm.
Think like Mines of Moria, expansive.
Ooh.
Like you can't see the walls, and you can see maybe 2 pillars that are just within the firelight, and you can't see a ceiling either.
How wide are these pillars?
You can only see like the edges of them on. You have to kind of walk into the room some more to get an idea. You can just see kind of like shadows on the edge of the torch circle that suggest that there's something there, which you just immediately assume are pillars.
Okay. Well, this is roomy. I mean, we can certainly bring a lot of people down here. There's definitely space.
Totally flood this.
Aye. We could...
It would need a lot of water to flood this.
Exactly. Do I hear anything? I'm going to make a perception check.
Oh, get you.
No. No. Don't worry about it. Wouldn't even worry about it.
Not a thing.
I will also do one.
I wouldn't even worry about it.
It's an 11, which is a success.
You hear nothing but oppressive silence.
Ooh.
Oh, that made me feel really uncomfortable for some reason. Oh.
I'm glad.
Oh.
Is there any smells in the room, like that kind of stench of decay, or is it just empty and cold, like places that haven't been inhabited in a long time, or what?
That's exactly how it smells. It just smells like kind of heavy, damp air. Not like wet, but like just where something just it's an underground place. Like
yeah. Just that general.
The air isn't
level
fresh,
of damp.
but it's not like actively stale. Not that it's actively stale. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not trying to be
rather than
stale.
passively stale.
Passively what are you gonna do? Obviously, you've done a percept. It's and I say it's like what was the word I used? Oppressively quiet. It literally is like you probably had like some low level of conversation if you've been traveling down this slope. You know what Gary's like; he loves talking.
Yeah, it does.
Now there's the
kind of-
feeling that we should be whispering.
You get that, yeah, literally. It's like you get to the bottom of the stairs and slope, and you look out into this huge expanse of room, and everyone just all at the same time just kind of stops talking, like their sentences trail off, and it's like absolutely silent. Even like there, it's like there's no like. Now cats normally they have this kind of like low purr, even when they're not particularly happy or purring, they just kind of have that kind of rumbly noise.
Yeah.
Even Bear just stops, like even making that sort of noise. He's still breathing. But he's not like everyone is silent for like probably a minute or so, and then I imagine that kind of the awkwardness begins to kind of creep. And probably somebody is like.
I was just about to lean back to Elias and go. Can you sense anything in here?
I look at the GM.
He asks you.
What does he look like?
Remind him.
30-foot radius.
No, nothing magical.
Take a 10-foot step. Try again.
No, Grandall. Not from here.
Right.
Can I see if there are any like signs of travel? Oh, sorry.
This way to the
I'll
cellar.
go now, guys. Bye.
Sorry. Yeah, you could do me a perception.
Perception. Let's do this. That is a 14, which is a success. Sorry,
The only sign-
a success, not a success. Although I
Success.
said
You seceded.
I seceded from this podcast.
This union.
No, there's not. Short answer. So behind you there is is kind of the signs of travel, and you can see that because it's your signs of travel.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is that you have disturbed dust.
Okay.
You know, kind of not like dusty dust, like kind of just a natural like layer of
Sediment.
sediment that kind of just settles in subterranean places, and there's no kind of, and you can kind of quite clearly track your path down the slope behind you, but there isn't any kind of indication of that in what you can see of this room.
Let's let me do this character. Should we should go have a look?
Cautiously, I would advise.
Let's go have a look.
Who's taking the first step?
I'll take the first.
Sounds like it's Gary to me.
Yeah,
This one will quite happily kind of come with you. She's really keen to come with you, and she's carrying a torch. So she kind of steps into this
Useful.
room, and I think just something. All of you are just like, but it's fine. She steps into the room, and there's no like explosion, there's no tripwire, there's no pressure plate. She just steps into the room. Her footstep
And-
does echo slightly, and obviously so does Gary's. And
His
even
cane.
just that one step, and then obviously they probably take a couple more steps to the point where you can now see these two pillars a little bit better in the fire.
I'll go check out the pillars.
They look like trees.
Ooh.
Like they have been carved exquisitely. They're obviously stone, but there is no mistaking these are supposed to be trees. There is bark that runs all the way up them as far as the light will show. You can actually, on one of the pillars, as you're looking at them, you can kind of see just at the edge of the torchlight what looks like it might be a branch. Like, kind of
Coming out or like
Coming out?
supporting
Yeah.
a roof.
you can't see, the light doesn't shine up enough to kind of see
Yeah,
the
yeah,
roof.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of like there are maybe branches like you would expect there to be on a tree. Nyla, did you say you were going in and having a look at that?
Once the initial has gone, yes, I will. I will wander
I-
inside.
I follow close behind Nyla.
I don't want to be that close, to be honest. But I don't want to be split from the party, so I'll reluctantly follow.
Noted.
Nyla,
As we're
give me
walking over
your-
there,
Lore?
as we're walking over towards this tree pillar, I just sort of lean over to Nyla. I was like, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was pretty sure of myself, but did elves ever build dungeons?
Did they, Jack?
That's a very interesting question. Give me lore.
I did roll a lore. I rolled a 2, which is a great success.
Would you like to use that for the reason why I said give you lore?
Oh.
Or the first time on the
I'll use it for the one that you asked me to roll, and I will roll another one for Grandall's question, which is
Damn
which is a 5, which is another great success. So it's fine.
Okay.
Ah, that's alright then.
So, first reason why I said to you to roll lore was to see whether you kind of noticed, picked up on it. The trees really do genuinely look like the ones in the forest, like the elven forest specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Like that looks like a tree trunk from like a tree that you might build a house on. Same kind of width, almost like redwood size. These pillars, like they're huge.
That's kind of what I was imagining, yeah, when you said Mines of Moria scale.
Yeah. And the other one, Nyla, you know of one subterranean elven building,
Hmm.
and it is known as the Roots of the Forest.
Nice.
At the centre of the elven forest, there is a lake. At the centre of the lake, there is an island, and on that island, is a huge tree that has been completely hollowed out and has a tower built inside.
And there's a frog on the log on the bottom of the sea.
In the roots of that tree, underneath the lake, is a rather expansive, essentially library that is essentially where all of the chronicles of elven lore, from as long as the elves' memories last, is stored. The only people allowed to go down there are the elven magic users who have reached an age of have reached the kind of the age of like 250, 300, like where they're kind of really close to the end of their lives. Essentially, they're sent down to the roots to detail everything they know about the elves and elven magic and all of that stuff. And their last act is to seal their knowledge away so that if it's needed, their ancestors can access it. There have been many petitions, you know of, Nyla,
Yeah.
by the schools of Magi from the humans to access this because they believe this is the only place that might still have references from before the gods left. But the elves refuse to give anyone access to that knowledge, and they won't even check themselves as far as they're concerned. Mistakes that were made in the past will just be repeated if you know what you've done.
And
So-
where's that? I'd know the location of that lake and that tree and that island.
Yeah, so the lake is the lake that you travelled on to go to where the kind of the capital of the Elven Forest is, and the capital of the Elven Forest is on the shore of that lake and like looks out onto the island. You can see it. It's the tallest thing in the Elven Forest. This tower.
Yeah.
You can see the tower on a clear day. You can kind of see the tower peeking out from the trees from any edge of the forest. It's that tall.
Okay. In which case, I will tell most of that, I guess, because I can imagine that Elias, if I start talking about the Elven Library, he will know exactly what I'm talking about and be super excited.
Elias has never heard of this.
Oh, okay. I'm still not telling him.
Oh, I thought you said you were.
No,
telling him.
I'm not telling him. I was just gonna say I will tell them that
So
I know
how
one.
how are you telling us part of that without telling us it's an elven library?
I
No,
imagine
I'm
she's
not
telling
saying.
us
I'm not talking about the
like,
Elven Library.
there is one underground elven thing, but not what it is.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I'll call it the
based
roots of
on-
the forest, but that's it.
Based on that, then anything worthwhile and elven would be at the top of these trees, right?
I mean,
Is that how it works?
I don't really know is the answer. That the only place I am aware of, I have never been to. No one I know has been to it. So pass.
All right. Well, to be honest, I was expecting you just to say, no, how absurd, so that's interesting.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, dwarves live underground, elves live in trees. That's that.
I point at the big tree.
Yeah, but trees don't normally grow underground.
I mean, it's not a real tree.
Proving my point, thank you.
I mean, I'm just saying, Grandall, this is weird to me too.
Hey.
But I'm
But the
very
fact
interested.
That there are, the fact that there has ever been any form of underground elven, anything, that surprises me.
Okay, fair. And I just start walking towards one of the trees.
Cool. What are you guys doing with the tree?
Is there a way in?
There's no. If you're gonna go walk around the trunk, there's no door or anything on it. It's just a tree trunk made of stone.
Given what I know about how we navigate the, I always want to call it an Ewok village, and it's not, but essentially the tiers of the forest is what it's actually called.
That's a lot cooler.
It is a lot cooler than Ewok village, yes. How would I normally get up these trees if they were like real trees in my hometown?
There would be like notches carved into the trunk, so you could just scale the side of the tree.
Are there those? Oh, God damn it. Stop making me roll stuff, Jack.
How far away are we from them, Jack?
I would imagine to have walked around it, you're pretty up close to it.
Yeah, I'm up on it. Not on it.
Any magic?
No.
I rolled a great success, Jack. There's an 8.
No, you don't see any notches. Like, you don't find any notches where you would expect to find them, but the fact that it's carved out of stone and it's like got the same texture as bark, you think you might be able to climb it anyway, but there's no notches suggesting that it's been done in a way that you should climb. Does that make sense?
There's not a
There's not an
carved...
obvious come
No.
up here
Okay.
like route, but obviously you also think that you're quite good at climbing. You could probably climb it anyway.
Yeah, Gary looks
I'm going to
at
give
you,
it a go.
Nyla. Yeah, he's like, go on. Dare you.
Do you
give me
dare me?
Athletics.
Athletics.
Yeah, that is a
Because
thing.
you have literally spent your entire childhood doing this. I will
Yeah.
give you advantage on the roll.
Thanks, because I'm not a strong girl.
I know, I think it kind of makes sense that you would be able to climb well, which is why I'm going to give you.
So with advantage, that's a 3, which is another great success.
Damn.
I
Yeah,
know,
you
I'm
kind
on
of-
fire.
You really are. You kind of managed to get a good grip and you kind of start climbing up. How far are you going?
Ooh, good question. How tall are is there walkways between the trees, or is it just literally a stone tree?
So you won't be able to use your dark vision until you're out of the torchlight.
Okay. Well, I'll go
So-
till I'm out of the torchlight. Oh, that's quite far, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be like 60 foot up.
Okay. I will climb like 30 feet up.
Okay. So
Just
that'll be you'll be in like the dim section. I know
Yeah.
it's not quite that clear, but you're into like the slightly gloomier, so you'll be able to kind of see out of the torchlight a little bit.
Yeah.
They don't appear to be like walkways like you would expect to find them, but there are branches. Like if you keep climbing, you think you will climb into at least some of a relatively accurate stone depiction of a tree. You still can't see the ceiling. There are branches. You can see that the branches have got leaves on them.
Yeah, let's go to the closest branch. The first one I can
Okay.
reach.
So you will disappear from everyone else's sight.
Yay, I'm gone, guys. Bye.
out of into the darkness. You can still kind of see what you're doing. You can still see what you're doing because of the light of the torch, but obviously it's just your eyes can adjust your effects. So imagine when you kind of get into the dark, you'll kind of pause for a moment, and then you'll be able to make out what it is you're doing. And you kind of climb up, and you manage to get onto one of the branches, and you kind of swing yourself up onto the branch almost automatically to put yourself into a safe position, so you're kind of sat astride it. And you look up into the tree further, and you can see that just another 10 foot above you is actually the roof of this room. So that tells you that the room is about 90 foot tall.
Yikes. Okay.
So you think actually, yeah, it's a big old room. But the trees, it's mainly the trunk, and then the branches have been done out, and they are like braces for the ceiling, but they've been carved in a really, really overtly graceful tree-like manner to make it look like an actual tree. So you can imagine if this whole place was lit like properly, it would look like you were standing in a forest from below. You would look up and you would see just the limbs of trees. Because you can see that they go out to a point where you can also see the tree branches from the other tree kind of join onto it, if that makes sense. Like
so it forms like a canopy sort of over the top.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The roof is essentially a canopy.
Okay. But I don't see anything else of like an entrance or...
You don't see anything like an entrance or anything. What you do see, however, is hanging from the branch you are on is a little teardrop. Not like a full-size house. It's a teardrop like you would expect to see hanging from the higher up branches of your kind of the tiers, the tiers of the forest, where you would put like lights in. So you would normally kind of in the winter months you would capture like
fireflies
and things, yeah, and like you'd have like lichen and things that glow, that sort of thing. Sometimes candles, but flames in the forest. And you would place them in those, and that would be kind of the way that you would light the paths. But that's the way this has been done. It's as if it's a little. I suppose it's the closest thing that the elves have to streetlights. It's like a little elven light holder, and that looks like it kind of hangs out on the branch.
Can I reach it from where I am?
Not from where you are. You can shimmy out on the branch.
I'll shimmy out.
Okay, you can shimmy out.
Everyone's like, ooh.
Give me a shimmy check.
It's a fair way to fall.
It's always risky to shimmy.
Get ready to catch me, I yell.
What do your elf eyes see?
From the dark.
Do you actually yell that?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to do something a little bit, like, risky, so if I fall, can someone catch me, please?
That
Sure.
literally echoes around the room, and, like, the room is just filled with noise from him.
Cool.
As it just echoes across. And that gives you another idea of just how massive this space is.
Can they make out what I say? Or is it just like...
Yeah, they can understand what you say. It's just obviously like, shit.
Yeah.
Did anyone want to shout anything back?
Yeah, I was gonna go, sure!
Thank you!
So, you shimmy out onto this branch a bit further. Like, normally, a branch this thick, you would be like, is this gonna hold my weight? But it's stone.
Yeah.
You can see that it's attached to, like, the ceiling, so you'll be okay. That's probably the only reason why you would do this. And you make it all the way out to kind of being within reaching distance of this teardrop light holder. And you can kind of see that it's not got the usual way of putting anything in it. But it isn't actually carved from stone either. It is actually hanging from the stone. It's like a wooden teardrop kind of, almost like, now that you're close to it, you can see it's kind of like woven from like,
Wicker.
No, not wicker, the round one. Like,
Reed.
yeah, it's kind of almost like reeds. Like it's like a oh my god, cane almost.
Bamboo.
No, I can't remember. Ratigan or something.
No, he was the villain from.
Rattan.
Yeah, it's like rattan.
Yeah, Ratigan's from Basil
Yeah,
Great Master.
he's from Basil Great Master. He's got his own
it's
song.
like almost like rattan, like it's like that with like a ceramic base.
Okay.
But you kind of now realise that there's no way you could. Like, there's in the Elven Forest, they have a wooden base and they're kind of like shaped glass.
Mm-hmm.
This is like this. You couldn't put a light in this. Now you've got both. So you realise this isn't what you thought it was. But yeah, you can. It's just hanging off the branch.
Can I get it?
You would like.
I would like very much.
Cool. Then you guess you can.
Cool. I got a souvenir, guys.
It's not very big. It's probably the thing's probably the size of your head.
It's coconut.
But like, do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the size of it's the round portion of it. It's not very heavy either. It's quite thin ceramic, the bottom bit.
Okay.
You just gotta kind of take it with you and climb back down.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Give me another climb check.
Just drop it.
Can I have advantage again, Jack? Thanks. Oh, oh no, that's fine. That's an 11, and my strength is 12, so I'm fine.
Yeah, you
That's
have a
close,
moment
though.
where you're like, oh. and
I
then you get
literally did. I looked at it, I was like, oh god, I think my strength is 10. I looked over, it's 12. I'm like, oh thank god.
So yeah, you managed to make it down again. Elias,
Mm-hmm.
as she kind of comes to within, I don't know, say 30 foot,
Mm-hmm.
she has something magic.
Nice.
It's my ass, guys. It's magical.
It's magical.
Damn.
Magic
You
ass.
would have detected that before.
You're right. You're right.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back for another episode of Nothing Adventure, Nothing Gained. Hope you're enjoying it so far. This is quite a fun one, I think. So first things first, mandatory social media mention. So we'll get that one out of the way. Just as always, please go find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Give us a like and a follow and subscribe and all that stuff. We really want to hear from you. Come say hi, and please remember to use hashtag Landcast when you are doing that. We really want to kind of get to know the people who enjoy listening to our podcast. So make yourselves known. The next episode is the only other thing I really want to talk about today, and it is honestly one of the episodes that all of us here have enjoyed recording the most. Genuinely, it is a really great episode. We really had a lot of fun at recording it. So make sure you come back, essentially, to listen to that one. It's called The Battle of the Windmill, and it's going to be released on May 1st. And yeah, come back, have a bit of fun. It's a little bit of a different episode, so breaking up the kind of way we're doing the storytelling here. I think we've been doing that with the backstories and stuff, so I think this is another kind of slightly different style episode, but hopefully you'll enjoy it, listening to it as much as we did recording it. So yeah, May 1st is when we're going to release that one. And until then, just thanks for listening. Genuinely, like, we really appreciate everyone that listens to the show, and we hope you enjoy it, listening to it as much as we enjoy recording it. In the meantime, stay safe, and we will see you then.
Hard to look at it while I was climbing a tree.
It's rather magical.
Oh, cool.
vaguely magical.
I stand by my original sentence.
Don't correct me, Jack.
Something in Elias's head tells him he's wrong, but he refuses to change his mind.
From the detect magic, does it tell him what kind of magic it is?
It gives me the brief nature of any magic.
Oh.
What would you? Can you just give me like categories of magic in Elias talk? I'll pick one.
There
Just
is
pick one.
ouchie magic. There is findy magic. There is
Createy magic.
createy magic. There's protecty magic, and there is
Zombie magic.
Practical magic.
there isn't such thing as schools of magic, but the example it gives is the broad nature of any magic is revealed. For example, a lightning trap may radiate as elemental magic.
If you
while
could
an
also
urn
tell
of
us,
healing
Jack,
water
what...
would radiate as healing.
So, Jack, if you could also tell us what kind of magic Elias felt on the other side of the whooshy water door.
I can tell you. That was ooh.
Ooh.
What's magic?
This would be
Kind of birthday party magic, I think.
It's like
so,
when the magic when fireworks go
behind the
off.
door-
Yeah.
The magic behind the door was like creation-y magic.
Mm-hmm.
And the magic. Just looking up. This is a I don't know what the word would be. Summoning magic, conjury magic,
Okay.
creational. I suppose it's creationary magic.
He's a creationist.
So both behind
it-
the door and this thing were creation
So
magic.
this thing is creation-y, yeah, and the one upstairs is also kind of creation-y.
Okay.
So it does something. It brings a new thing that wasn't there before into effect. That's true of all magic in theory. That shield spell you've got,
Mhm.
that's creation.
Which is still currently active. I have just found something, this is completely off topic. I have just found something quite interesting. When my dark and dangerous magic triggers, my luck goes down by 1.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I forgot to tell you that.
It's interesting.
Yep, didn't know that. I'm going to
That's
reduce my
gonna
luck
suck.
by 2.
Yeah, so it's creation-y.
Excellent. Gary
Okay.
moves further into the room.
Sorry, did you say Gary moves further into the room?
Yes.
Yeah, you can move into this room. You're still within the first so the pillar is about 30 foot away from the wall, and they're about 30 foot away from each other. And on that kind of grid, every 30 foot in each direction, on that kind of lined up, they are trees.
Okay.
What direction are you moving in?
I guess
in relation
like
to the door?
directly away from the door. It seems kind of through the middle of the room. I guess it seems. as
Cool.
good
Yeah, you can head in that
places,
direction. How are you just going to keep going until you find something interesting?
Basically,
Cool. In that case, you kind of walk away from this group. Okay. One thing to be aware of though is that
I'm not going to go too far if other people aren't following me.
that's what I'm going to say. So obviously, where Wise Swan has got the torch and Gary, if he's going to walk away, the torch is going to get left. He's going to go with them. And Elias, you haven't got a torch active at the moment, so if they leave you, you then can't see anything.
Well, I will... If Gary's the only one with a torch, so I'm going to have to follow him.
Yeah, I mean, you do have other torches with you, just the only one lit at the moment is the one that kind of Wise Swan and Gary have got that they're holding.
I need my hands, so I can't carry a torch. So I follow Gary.
Let's go exploring.
I'm gonna put this thing in my bag and then I'm gonna follow on.
Again, if you kind of It's a bit big to put on your bag. You probably hang it off the bottom of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's kind of like it's about the size of your head. Really. You could probably hang it off like that. Hang it off the bottom of your head. Off the
Above
bottom of
my
your
head,
bag, maybe.
I have two heads. I am Bayrock Z. What's his face? Oh God, I'm nerd cred gone. Then sorry.
So yeah, Grandall, are you going to?
You know
follow
how I
as
mean.
well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Not ominous at all. You basically walk kind of slowly, I assume, because you can't walk
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the moment,
for
Gary. Into this room, and eventually you come to a step
Down or up?
up.
Ooh. Okay.
It's not a very high step. Maybe
Is it more of like a
more of a lip, I suppose, really. But it's like one of many, and it's like lots of little steps that lead up. And just on the edge of the torchlight, the bottom of the stairs, probably again, it's well, not on the edge of the torchlight at all. Actually, that's 6 feet. So it's a huge set of stairs. So it's like stairs up to a raised area that's kind of directly in the center of 4 of these tree pillars.
right.
And on the raised section is a table with 8 chairs down the side, 4 chairs on each side, and 2 bigger, grander chairs at each end. It's like
Okay.
a feasting table.
Normal human-sized furniture.
Is there anything on the table?
You're kind of below it. You can kind of see like a candlestick, like 2 candlesticks, like the kind of intervals that make sense for them to be. But that's the only thing that's kind of like you can see that's kind of tall enough for you to be able to see, because it's kind of they're high-backed chairs, so they're kind of blocking the view of the table for the most part.
Right.
The chairs, even from the back, they are very ornate, like kind of carved with like vines growing around them and stuff.
I mean, I will do a perception check to see if I can see any traps. I don't have traps and locks. Is that something I can do?
I always forget how proficiency works.
I think you just can't do
So I think traps and locks is to disarm and
Yeah, I think to
like
to
just
see
to
them,
find
it's
it.
detection.
Yeah,
I'll just
detection.
do-
It is noticing traps is covered by detection.
detection. I do have detection. I'm gonna roll detection.
Yeah, so skilled versus unskilled, it's literally a case of at the GM's discretion, some actions might require a specific skill or background to attempt at all, or
Right.
to qualify for a great success, or to avoid a terrible failure. So I might say that because Nyla has spent her whole life climbing up and down trees, she literally can't get a terrible failure when she's climbing because she's done it for so long.
Right.
Because that's literally in her background. Like I might say that you can't fail at cutting logs, for instance. Because you're a lumberjack. That's
Fair
not
enough.
quite the same.
I would say I
but
feel
that's
like
kind of-
mine is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lucked out on that one.
Yay!
I did roll a 12. I was looking for a 14 or below, so I detect.
Yeah, so
I do the detection.
you don't think there's anything untoward going on here? Looks like relatively.
I'll go have a look.
normal
I'm gonna
chairs.
go have a look.
Cool.
Watch
Yeah, you
me.
can make your way up the chairs. So that, I mean, Wise Swan will continue to support you until a point where you're kind of like, oh, we're on my own. But she'll kind of follow you up. As you get to the top of this set of stairs, I say stairs, it's almost like it's more like a raised platform with like steps leading up to it.
Dais.
Yeah, kind of. But the steps going up to it are like they you can approach it from literally any angle because the stairs go all the way around it.
Right.
Yeah.
You go up it and you realise that from the angle you've come at, the chairs are all kind of these really gaudy, ornate, like vine-covered, like wooden carved chairs. The other side of the table are much more simple, kind of stone, like worked stone, like stools.
Okay.
like still like they look comfortable, and you can kind of almost see like the worn.
Are they more like
place.
utilitarian?
Yeah, kind
than
of. Yeah, they just look
ornate?
like they're still comfortable. They're just not fancy or showy. And you realise that the two chairs that are like at the ends, one of them is very again utilitarian. It's very straight laced, lots of angles and sharp edges, and the other one is much more elegant, not quite as fancy as the other chairs, but just much more elegant in the way it's been kind of carved.
Right.
Yeah, from the wood. But the chairs are wooden, and the kind of more utilitarian side is stone. It's a very large, kind of very obvious counterpoint here between the two kind of sides of the table.
I mean, I think I know what's going on, but
So do I.
definitely Gary doesn't. Gary would absolutely go and sit in one of the grand viney chair, the big viney chair.
Oh, I roll my eyes. Elias just watches him, and I just
My leg hurts.
On
yeah,
the
it sure does.
on the table, there are these two candelabras. There's like, it's not laid out for a feast or anything. The places have got like the worn patches where there's obviously been things placed in front of on the same place like, time and time again. The table is a stone table. That's what so there's like the kind of really smooth parts in front of where all of the people would have been sat if they were sat at these chairs. In front of the more utilitarian grander chair, so like the one to angles, not the one that Gary's heading towards to sit down at, there is like a pile of papers with a stone on top of it. And in front of the chair that Gary's heading towards is a book with kind of like again like it's almost comical when like probably for like not Gary maybe but for everybody else like the book has got like a piece of like amber like resin on top of it and it's like it's as if someone has literally set this up to look as overtly opposed as possible.
Right.
Oh, what, the big fancy book with amber on top of it versus a pile of papers with a stone.
Yeah, like it just kind of looks a bit like okay, like yes, this is obviously two different sets of people that are sat at this table. Like that's kind of the thought that pops into your head as you're looking.
So yeah, we
so you're
get
gonna
it.
sit at that table.
Yeah, I'm gonna go sit at the table. My leg hurts. God damn it!
It's a very comfortable chair.
I bet it is.
Once Grandall sees that Gary sat down with, he hasn't exploded or been stabbed or anything, Grandall goes and sits in the opposite chair to the one that Gary's in, the fancier utilitarian.
Yeah. I'm in the viney chair, the big viney chair.
Yeah.
I want to go check out the book.
Cool. Grandall, you sit down. Again, really comfortable, really good fit. You can tell this is made for a dwarf.
Yep. Can I read the papers? Have they like
Yeah,
faded
you can
with
have a look
time?
at the papers. How are you gonna handle them?
I was like, there's no like strong breeze coming from anywhere, is there?
Nope.
The first thing I was just going to do was just take the rock off the top and just see what's underneath the rock that I can read without actually like touching the paper.
Okay, cool. We'll come to that in a second.
Cool.
Gary, the chair is comfortable. It does feel like you're a bit big for it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's definitely
what
for
you
someone
mean.
a little bit more.
A bit more slender.
Yeah.
a
Slender.
bit more slight.
A bit more Nyla size.
You're a big,
Bit more.
you're a big
elven.
muscly man.
Yeah.
And elves don't generally come in that form.
No.
They're normally like slender muscly men.
Is it
Toned.
Is it uncomfortably too small?
No, not if you're not really. You just like you kind of sit down. You're like, not the best chair I've sat in. Not the worst.
I've had better.
I imagine that's a very Gary thing to think.
Yeah. It's very pretty, but it's not as comfortable as ones I've been in before.
Exactly. You feel grand sat in it, but you kind of feel that that's the cost. Is that you're not at absolute ease.
Whereas I feel at absolute ease in my chair.
You absolutely do. You fit that.
Oh, kind of.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're about to say, now that you've both sat down, the world explodes. I'll kind of rub my leg a little bit, look at the damage, and then just kind of get bored, stand up, and just start milling around.
That was a really quick sit, Gary. Well done.
Gary. Oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, that's fine. So currently, Grandall sat at on the chair and is looking at the papers. So we'll do that quickly first. So you lift up the papers, and it is all in Dwarvish, and it's like a really antiquated form of Dwarvish. Like it's old, like real old. But even when you lift the paper up, lift the rock up, the paper looks like if you were to like be too rough with it, it would just
fall apart. Yeah.
Which is why I asked. And so you can kind of read a little bit of it. It looks to be essentially like minutes. And like the section that you can read most easily, because the rest of it is kind of faded a bit. The rock has almost preserved some of the writing. And the section that you can read speaks of the truce being re-examined again. Another 200 years have passed, and so the negotiations need to begin once more, as they always do. And so the Chosen have come together to
reconvened.
Essentially, yeah, that's what it says. And the last thing at the bottom of the page, that's kind of like the next item, is first mention or first item to discuss the prophecy of the prophecy of the Clarion.
Before I do anything else, there's nothing special about the rock, is there? It's just a rock.
You have to give me detection. It is just a stone. If you mean like, is it magic?
I'll do detection on it. I know stone. I'm a dwarf. I do know stone. That's a natural one.
Ooh.
It's gold.
Nice.
You can't see any gold on the outside, but that's definitely what it is.
That's definitely what it is.
Something tells me that's not going to stay on the table for long.
Yep. What rock? It's already disappeared.
Yeah.
It's in my pocket.
Oh, it was, what stone that was never here? Can you spell the word that you said, Jack?
The Clarion. I can,
yeah.
Yes. ECLARION.
Clarion. Okay.
Yeah, I relate that name to the group and sort of explain it looks like this, which I suspected when I saw the table.
Yeah, ditto.
And with the mural upstairs, that this is some kind of
treaty,
regular meeting between the elves and the dwarves to sort out whatever their peace treaty is, I guess.
So when you say the name Clarion, Wise Swan will literally audibly gasp.
Wow. What? Oh, you've heard of them?
She will say to you, when I left the mountains, moving south to follow the dreams I had been sent by the ancestors, I was plagued by these visions of darkness and death. When I reached the Salt Lake, the dreams ended, and I was left with but one name. Well, I say name. I assume it is a name. I don't know what else it could be. The name was Clarion the Bound.
I don't like the sound of that. Bound things get free, and you tend to not want them to.
I do not know what it means, or what even I am supposed to do with the knowledge.
I mean, I don't know a lot about elves. I've not met any of you before Nyla. Do you know anything about this treaty between dwarves and elves? Because I've never heard of it.
Do I, Jack?
Absolutely
No,
no
I
such
didn't think
thing
so.
ever exist. The
No.
idea is ridiculous.
I'm gonna look at Grandall like if it's sort of like, oh, you sweet summer child, and be like, well, so the stories that I really loved by Berethir were talking about meeting other races because it's not the sort of thing that elves really do, and certainly not dwarves. Like there would have never been a treaty like this beyond anything simple like trade. So no, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. You know, just because elves are so condescending.
And dwarves are so stupid. So why would we ever like?
I do actually know of a place where elves and dwarves used to live together.
What?
Is it in your dreams?
No, it's a real place.
Oh,
Where was that?
It's a place called Stargrasp, which I'm assuming
Sound very dwarvish.
wise
to me.
one might know of.
Stargrass.
Mm-hmm.
You mean the cradle? Yes, I know.
So I don't think it's as ridiculous as both Nyla and Grandall are making out.
I mean, sorry.
Place. No, I'm sorry. Starcross, as the magi, sorry, magic users call it.
Sorry, I thought you were just going to say human.
As they refer to it in their writings, as far as I understand, is a place that my people know as the cradle. It is our belief that is where we came from. It is the first place that the Boris folk, and in our belief, and as far as our records can tell, though they be meagre and passed down for the most part, our stories say that we were the first, and that we came from the cradle, and that from us then flowed humanity to the rest of the world.
I mean, that's not exactly the same as dwarves and elves living together, is it?
Well, it is said that the cradle was cared for by the older races.
Well, I've never heard of it.
I mean, it is also a place that I know to exist, so...
I have never seen it. It's only somewhere I know of. And this other name that Elias refers to it as is something I have heard before in my travels.
So where is it? Like north, south?
It's
Here?
in the
In the
north.
mountains. In the north, yes.
Ah, right.
I'm just gonna look at Grandall and smile, and just be like, I didn't mean to cause offence or be condescending.
No, you didn't even have to try, did you?
I'm
So
gonna
the
walk
book-
to the book. Yeah.
So the book.
So the book, Elias, you've got. Are you picking up the kind of lump of resin?
Is it magical?
Or no, it's not.
Then I pick it up.
Nothing at this table is obviously magical.
If it's I'll just pick it up. If it's not magical, I'll just move it.
Yep. So you move the resin to one side,
Oh, excuse me.
and just as a point of interest, Nyla, when you get over to that book as well, you'll notice that the resin is actually a lump of resin that is commonly carved into things like children's toys and like pipes and things.
I'll pass it to Nyla.
I'm
What's something you'll notice when you go?
just gonna like hold it in my hand and like look fondly at it, I guess, because it's like, oh, home.
Yeah, it's a long way from home. Just like you.
Aw.
Elias, the book
Can I do
is...
a check on the book to make sure I'm not going to damage it by touching it?
Yeah, give me...
Say arcane law, maybe, because you're used to dealing with dusty
sleight of
tomes.
hand.
I more want to assess it visually first
Okay,
before
give me observation then.
Perception.
Detection.
Detection?
It's a 7, which great success. That's what I needed.
So yeah, you do think that this book could quite easily kind of disintegrate a bit if you were with it. You think maybe kind of leafing through it like you would a normal book will lead to irreparable damage. And to be honest, you don't even know if it will survive being removed from down here, because it's like obviously currently it's almost like not hermetically, but you know what I mean? It's like it's
the atmosphere
it's in.
Yeah.
He's like
and
mummified it.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
almost. If you take it upstairs, it will just start to disintegrate from being kind of
Sun exposure and
in
stuff.
different air and sun exposure, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you think that this needs to be handled with the utmost care.
I mean, I
Get any from it.
I mean, I reckon that I could probably have a nose through this book without doing too much damage.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna.
It's much the same as what Grandall found. You just get a little bit more because obviously it's in slightly better condition. Are you looking for anything specific?
Well, I don't really know what I would hope to find, so no, not really. I don't know.
Randall's kind of watching you from the other end of the table. It's like, see if you can see that name in there.
Yeah, I mean that was interesting. Yeah, I suppose I would probably just look for the what was the word?
Eclaria.
Eclaria.
Clarion. Sorry, I've written this completely wrong in my notes.
The Enchiridion.
Yeah. Echo the dolphin.
Yeah, you open the book and it goes, Sega.
I can't do a dolphin noise.
It was pretty good.
Thanks.
It was pretty good. I knew what you were imitating.
I had said Echo the dolphin before I did it, so I should fucking know.
In context, it worked.
So, the first thing you pick up on, in fact, give me, is there like investigation or like gather information? Maybe do you have that?
I don't have information gathering. No.
Is researching, I suppose. Give me.
Yeah, because you can do gather information with int or charisma, so it's like.
Yeah, give me an int check then, just because kind of like you're kind of scanning through it.
Well, you could maybe do insight, Jack.
I suppose yeah, that works. You're kind of used to looking through books as well, so I'm going to say that.
Well, I rolled a 5, so unless it's a charisma check.
If it's a charisma check,
You talk to the book.
It's intelligence, I think. So.
Well, it's a great success.
So essentially, you kind of looking through this book, and the first thing that kind of piques your interest is on like you probably open it and then it kind of open to its page it wants to open to, because it's kind of the easiest way to open it.
Yeah.
Its page, and the page it opens to, it's got in beautiful elven script, like it is absolutely painstakingly handwritten. This thing, and the date at the top of the page is 1210.
Now, last time we asked you what the date was, you said you didn't know.
Well, I can tell you what the date is.
Okay. Yes, please.
Huzzah.
That is useful for context.
So the date now is 419 AD. Which is the age of pain. Which is the
Okay.
age of currently.
And 210 what?
210 TG. From that, you know that this was written approximately 200 years before the Mage's fall. This was written in the time of glory.
Okay.
This is an account of a time when the gods were still present.
Interesting. Do I find anything useful in there?
So, that's the first thing you notice. On that same page, you will see, and from like kind of turning the page carefully, you'll see that the page it's open to, it's about 3/4 of the way through the book, and the reason why it's kind of fallen open this page is it's the last page that's missing. And it says much the same as the papers that Randall was reading. It is obviously similarly minutes of the last meeting at this place.
So, from what we can gather, is there a sense that the meeting went off without a hitch as expected, or was there some kind of animosity?
The kind of the last. There's a couple of extra notes that are made in that you can read, Elias. That are kind of just general terms of business. The humans seem to be getting along well with magic and things, and they're kind of you're quite impressed as a pair of the elder races, as you like to call each other, that they've done such a good job of bringing peace to the world, and they've uplifted magic, and you're very impressed with the way that the world is running, and you actually have quite great hope for the future. Essentially, is the account from this book. The first point is the first item from the agenda is the prophecy. Interestingly, this one says the prophecy of a Clarion.
What did the first one say?
The first one said the prophecy of a Clarion.
Yeah.
This one says a Clarion's prophecy.
The Clarion's prophecy.
Which is it's the same, but like it's different and kind of suggests something else, which is why that's interesting.
Sorry, Jack. I just want to clarify. You mentioned before when I was reading through my lot of papers that these meetings seem to happen every 200 years or so. Yeah.
So the previous entry in this is 200 years earlier.
Yes.
And that means that the magical folly happened at almost exactly the time when there would have been another meeting.
Around that time, yeah. So the folly happened around 1413, 1412.
Okay, so about just over a decade out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Means that potentially the meeting didn't happen for another reason.
I want to go to the front of the book.
Okay.
And read the first.
The front of the book is in a dialect of Elven you have never seen before. It is very different. Even the script is different. Like it's almost like as different as Cyrillic is to English.
Is there a recognizable date though?
That's where I was going. So the date of that is the year 4208 MN.
What's that stand for?
You've never heard of the date stamp.
Okay.
So what you do know, and you kind of all know this, so you're currently in the Age of Pain. Before the Age of Pain was the Time of Glory. The Time of Glory lasted from 412 to 1412. It lasted for about 1,000 years. Before that, it's referred to as the Lost Age, and it is essentially referred to as a time before memory or record, from which the first Magi and cleric.
Prehistory.
Do I know the date of when this Stargrasp was supposedly a thriving city?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I haven't actually got it written down, so I'm guessing I didn't find that out. Does Wise Swan know?
She will just say that the cradle is where humans first came from. It's the time when it was, when we emerged from it, is like lost to the ages. Like nobody knows exactly when it happened. Just beyond. It's like one of those beyond ancient things that it's just like we are the folk that remember this happened, but it's kind of only we know this because we've kept the stories passed down from person to person for like millennia.
It was the long, long
Prior
ago.
epoch. In the before time.
The long, long ago. Jack, the I don't know if Elias is going to show me, but the other script of
Oh, I'll
Elvish.
100%. Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
that's cool.
100% ask you if you can read this. Yeah.
You can't read it.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of recognize bits of it because it looks like what you would consider to be ancient Elvish.
Yeah.
But it's like different even from that. You can kind of guess at a couple of things, but like even then, it kind of obviously it's the first page, and it's the first kind of the only words you recognize are like war, like
Yep.
and like and
War never changes.
destruction. And weirdly, necessity. Like that is like that word is like a very unusual word in the Elven language because it's kind of not something that elves generally consider to be a thing.
No.
Like elves don't normally think of things as being like necessary. They just are or they aren't. Whereas that's why I think probably this word hasn't really changed that much over the time. And actually, when she kind of points it out to you, kind of explains what the word is, it kind of makes sense because you've seen a bit of ancient Elvish, Elias. You can then kind of see necessary or necessity rather as like vaguely if you're really like stretching. If it makes sense.
Does the word for dwarf change?
You don't see any mention of dwarf.
Do I see any mention of elf in?
Not in the bit that you can read. Obviously, if you're going to look through the papers more, you do risk.
Well, I was going to say I'd like to just take off the very top leaf and set it to one side.
Yeah, you can do that.
If
It does kind of crumble at the edges slightly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can do that. It's kind of the previous meeting.
I wince as he moves it. Like,
I
So
am super careful.
It's like a page from the previous meeting. Again, the edges are a bit worn, where obviously the paper's not been like completely flat. And it's got the 200 years prior. And again, there's no mention of like anything. The only mention of like the gathering is the chosen have gathered.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only mention of like who it is that's here. Obviously, you're assuming that it's dwarves now because like, all of the clues. Like,
Yeah, based on everything.
Like the fact that it's dwarven and elvish, for instance. But there's no actual mention of dwarves or elves at any point. It just refers to the chosen.
I take it there's nothing on the back of the first page that I picked up.
Yeah, there's the continuation of the notes, which match up pretty much exactly to what Elias has read on the page.
Okay.
So, like, where the elves have got a big leather book and they write, like, 2 A4 pages of notes, the dwarves have got, like, an A4 page and they just write on the side.
Yeah. Practical.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Do I, as Elias is flicking through the book, do I see any mention through the stuff I've seen of like the sun or the moon?
Not that you catch. No.
Okay.
When Elias, I assume you done looking through the book. Anything else you wanted to look for?
I can't think of anything specific I would be trying to find, if I'm honest.
Oh, what was the?
I've looked through my notes.
What was the name of the god lady at the Salt Lake?
Astiograthis. I just don't know if that would be referenced, because that was the only thing I was thinking, but...
So it's the only thing I could think of that might have been around.
Maybe librarians. That. The ancient ones and librarians.
Have a look. Give me another, whatever it was you rolled last time.
Perception, I think it was.
7. Great success.
Cool. So, yeah, you can flick through. Obviously, you're being really careful, so you're not just like literally flicking through it. And you can kind of you don't get any mention of librarians. There is a mention of a library.
I'll read that bit. That sounds interesting.
Around the year 830. There is a note saying that they had
the 830 TG.
Sorry?
TG.
Yeah. The gathering had been delayed due to essentially bad storms, preventing the parties from being able to travel. And then there is a note about how there needs to be an effort to find a way to store the knowledge of the chosen in a way that it will stand the test of time, essentially. And so there is a suggestion that there should be a great library built, a joint project of the two races, as in the times before.
I'd like to look for any references to the Order of Fallen Leaves.
Cool, yeah, you need to give me another searchy on that one.
It's 11. It's only a success. Boo. Okay. I think I have scoured my notes for things I could potentially try and find, and I'm out. So I place the book very carefully down where I found it.
The cover of the leather book does have a very classic elven motif of the moon.
God damn it, Jack! I asked about moons.
I know you did, but he had the book open.
I was going to say I had the book open at that point.
God damn it!
That's why I asked.
What's on the back?
Anything else? You pick it up and turn it over?
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's just
Yeah. Why isn't there sun?
I want to draw it in my notebook.
Okay. It's really quite classic. The way that the moon is normally depicted in elven artwork and stuff.
I'm also going to draw the moon and sun from Wide Swan's necklace stroke the mural with it.
Cool.
Just collecting moon pics, guys, for a sick tattoo I'm thinking of getting. So, you know.
Nice.
Grandall, did you want to do anything else with your painting?
I can't think of anything else to look for, to be honest. I also don't want to disturb it too much. It's going to fall apart. Mind you, it's going to sit here and nobody will touch it for another 100 years.
This is it. Either someone who's an idiot's going to come down and just destroy it
mess with
anyway.
it, or it will stay there. If I pick this up, it's just going to fall apart. There's nothing we can do with it. Is there anything else you want me to look for in here? Maybe something in the dwarf side that might show up?
Do you mind if I have a look? Quite the
Not at
expert
all.
with
Go for it.
old texts.
I rather than move the pile of papers, I just move out of the chair so that Elias can get in and have a look.
I'm just going to have a general sieve through, Jack, and see if there's anything.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like their notes were as comprehensive, so I'm not expecting to find anything.
As you kind of flick through the pages, around the same time as where the mention of the library was, there's almost down the side of the page, there are some really rudimentary blueprint sketches of a really over the top grand tree with a dwarven keep under it that kind of has loads of stuff above and loads of stuff below, which is like, and then like a note that just says like library next to it.
Is there like a big arrow that says like secret hatch action or something?
Red hot.
Okay, so what I'm getting from this is that the one and only thing that the elves have that is underground was actually built by dwarves.
I mean, that makes sense, really.
It's certainly a lot less confusing than when we were talking about it earlier.
I think it just goes to show that the dwarves and the elves were a lot more allied than they are now. But we have heard rumblings of a war between the two.
There's nothing about the storms in the dwarven notes.
No, it doesn't mention.
Or nothing at all. Okay.
It doesn't seem like the dwarves are that bothered about dragons too late. As the dwarven notes aren't quite as detailed as the elven ones. They kind of just pick up the kind of the important bits, whereas the elves have been a bit more embellishing in kind of the details.
So what was said about the library?
So
there's what you described to Grandall of this, like, you know, trees going down into the ground and information above and stuff, is pretty much what this rough drawing looks to be in the dwarven notes. So Grandall's very much like, ah, ha, 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 ha.
What noise is that? I'm gonna try and copy that sketch into my book as well.
Cool. Yeah, it's a really rough, like,
yeah, that's fine.
Kind of one of those rough, like, architectural, like isometric looking.
I'm basically imagining the dwarven equivalent of a Leonardo da Vinci rough sketch.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
That's fine, but it's just more of a like,
yeah, just for reference.
Collaboration between elves and dwarves? Question mark. Evidence.
Objection.
I'm Angela Lansburying this shit.
Library she drew.
She does work on a typewriter most of the time.
This is, you know, type. Pulls out the piece of paper and throws it away. Bear leaps and catches it in his mouth.
Gary.
Yes.
What are you up to at the moment?
While the nerds are looking at paper,
poking his axe wound.
I'm kind of just like,
yeah, gross. Double gross.
He's got an axe wound.
Feeling a bit sorry for myself. Kind of wandering, milling, not going too far, but they're all doing like paper. They're all looking at paper, and like people do that sometimes.
So you're kind of walking down off of the platform.
Yeah, I'm milling about, just
pick a direction,
kicking up dust. Probably the opposite, just having a little, maybe go 10, 15 feet out. The like past on the other side, the far side from the door.
Away from where we came.
Yes, basically.
Right, yeah. Cool. Just kind of getting an idea of where everybody is.
When the
spiders explosion happens. So currently you're kind of all stood around the table looking at papers and books and things. Gary has wandered off towards, away from where you came from, almost, I suppose, deeper into the huge room.
Definitely.
Nyla, whereabouts are you? Sorry, you're.
Well, I was sketching stuff off of the dwarven notes.
Yeah.
So I probably
stood
near Elias, probably.
As you and Elias and Grandall kind of group up together to look over these notes, you're obviously all kind of interested in the same thing, and you're all looking at this. Bear comes up behind you and kind of like nudges you and like headbutts you quite hard, actually, in the side, and like you unbalance slightly and kind of like fall towards Grandall.
Yeah.
And you kind of instinctively reach out to steady him. And when you do that, there is a flash of light. and magic.
From where?
From the teardrop attached to her bag.
What? What?
Do we
Do
all
I
see it?
feel anything from the
Oh,
thing in my
yeah, like
backpack?
literally everybody saw that. It was like blindingly bright. It's only because it's on her back that it didn't actually blind you temporarily. It's like a camera flash going on.
I'd like to
Yeah.
spin Nyla around and
Oh,
do I
buy
feel
me dinner
anything-
first. Jesus, what?
Do I feel anything coming from the object in my bag, Jack?
No, you don't.
want to examine.
The magic is fading from it. It's still like kind of there subtly, but you kind of get a bead on it almost. Give me arcane law.
I'm good at these. It's an 8.
Because you don't have to talk to them.
Great success.
This has an unusual form, admittedly, but a form of the Lightbringer incantation on it, which is an enchantment form of essentially a light spell. Commonly, the Lightbringer incantation is placed on weaponry and allows you to release a blinding flash of daylight. But this appears to be. You think that the flash happened because, it was triggered and then stopped very suddenly. It was that was the reason why it was a flash rather than being consistent.
What are you lot doing over there?
There was a light.
Yeah, I saw that. It was really fucking bright.
Yeah, well, you now know as much as we do.
Would you stop playing around, alright?
I'm not playing around. You're the one who's wandering around in the dark.
Yeah, well, when you're done looking at your books, there's Scorn upstairs, so let's just make it quick.
Oh, now you want to hurry.
Jack, did Bear push me where the tier was, or did he just literally knock me?
He just literally knocked.
Okay. I'm just gonna turn to him and be like, dude, what?
And you just get an overwhelming sense of.
Why don't you go explore with Gary?
He just kind of shrugs at you. That's the impression you get, and then kind of slopes off into the dark. And Gary, shortly afterwards, Bear will appear and just start winding his way around. Not through your legs, obviously, because that's very difficult for a tiger. But he's kind of just obviously restless. He doesn't might be underground, really. You get the impression.
Nah.
Just a bit restless.
I'll give him a little scritch.
Yeah, he immediately plugs it.
Yeah. It'll be alright, mate. They're just nerding out over there.
So what now, guys?
Well, do we?
Well, I mean,
do we
we
think?
found a space to put the people in.
Well, let's just go
hardly,
see what else
hardly
is in
secured it. Yeah, I think we should maybe sweep the perimeter, as it were.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
Elias, that thing that happened. What? Is that going to do that again, or can we control it?
I mean, if you'd permit me to study it later this evening, I might be able to figure that out.
I mean, it's a thing that makes light. It was at the top of one of these big trees. Is it safe to assume that they've all got one, and that's how they lit the room? Is there any way to turn them on?
I mean-
Potentially, it's not as simple as just kind of having a glance, I don't think. Unless there's an obvious switch.
See, I like playing a character. I'm enjoying playing a character with low intelligence. But Mark thinks he knows why that happened. But
Do you want to
Gary
enlighten us, Mark?
absolutely won't know why that happened. So I'm sitting here with a possible answer to how to turn the light on.
I mean, The fact that I got pushed towards Grandall and then something happens, I don't know what that means.
Why don't you both
That's
try and
fine.
hold
Blame
it
it
at
on the
same time?
dwarf.
No, like I'm just thinking, is there like something either like doing some kind of like movement to it, or is it that I brought you
Well,
closer to
alright,
something that you
alright.
have?
Here we go. Like, out of character.
Yeah,
Like, it happened when you touch Grandall.
yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Maybe just touch Grandall again.
But I don't want to touch Grandall.
Well, no one does.
That's just rude.
See, I missed that when that was explained. I smushed
Aye,
the two
so
of
did
them
I.
together.
As soon as they are like in contact, it just lights up.
That's weird, and this is kind of awkward.
Together,
It's like one of those it's like one of those now kiss moments. Like,
Grandall, together we are magic.
how long are you gonna allow Elias to hold you together like that?
I mean, I'm possibly stronger than Elias, so I'm gonna guess not long.
You're
I reckon I am
definitely,
as well.
You're definitely both stronger than Elias. Oh no, you might not have actually. He's not.
say that.
Weaky. Yeah, I realised that as I said it. You're not
I do-
super weak, are you?
I do think you probably are. Actually, I've just looked at its strength 10. I thought it was more than that, but
I have 12, so.
I have 15.
I do
Yeah, I
think,
think
you two
once
should
we've
stop
established
being
that-
so prudish about it. Quite frankly, it's not like I'm asking you to get naked and rub butts,
Oh, you should rub butts.
because that's what people do, right?
Yeah.
Rub butts.
Rub
I
them
look at
butts.
Elias
Ah,
concerned.
Humans are so strange.
Is that how
Um,
I'm
You're
gonna
on the
lean
right
down to
ones.
Grandall
You
and go
seem
like,
to be on the
"How
same page,
humans
Elias. I've
do
got
it?
some
Could they
literature.
rub butts?
I have no idea. It
Quite
wouldn't
interesting.
surprise me at this point.
Okay.
I think once we've been pushed together long enough to establish that yes, that's turned the light on, we could just separate from each other.
As soon as you
Don't have to
separate, the light will
struggle
like
against them.
fade.
Does the light fade slower now that they were in contact longer than the first touch?
Yeah, essentially, like it is. Yes.
Can I have a look at that?
Sure.
Take hold of it. I take it doesn't light up when just I'm holding it.
No. It will light up if you're both touching it,
Yeah,
but
that's
not
yeah.
if one of you is touching it. It will light up if you're both touching, even if neither of you. So if like it's on the table and you're touching, it will light up. If you're both holding it, it will light up.
Oh my god! I'm
Alright,
gonna
that's
take
fairly nifty.
Grandall's hand. Does like the ones in the tree light up as well?
How long are you gonna wait?
I'm gonna hold his hand for like an awkward amount of time.
After
Okay, so my right hand is in Nyla's hand. My left hand is holding this thing, like studying it, see if there's any kind of mechanisms inside that I might recognize.
it lights up as soon as Nyla holds your hand, and
Mhm.
over the course of maybe a few minutes, you start to see like very, very dull like lights come on in the 4 trees surrounding you. But they are like really dim. Like, they won't actually light anything. They're just like they've recognized you're there, but like
Trying
it's
to come
not,
on.
There's something. Yeah, it's almost like you've not figured out the entire thing. Is what I'm gonna say. Like if that makes any sense.
I place the one that I've been studying back on the table, and I gesture out to Wise Swan and say, "My lady." I just hold out my hand for her to take.
She takes your hand.
Is there any like obvious brightness increase in any of the lights?
No.
Okay.
Something elven and dwarvish, obviously.
I have a feeling, like there might have been, 4 people on either side of the table and 2 at either end. That doesn't mean there couldn't have been hundreds of elves and dwarves stood around this table, making it light up.
Yeah, like I'm guessing more of us would make this better.
I mean, that's all I've got at the moment.
Yeah, ditto. I pick the lamp back up and put it on my back. I'm going to sit in the chair.
So do we think that if Nyla was sat in the elf chair and Grandall was sat in the dwarf chair, they could touch? Or is the table too big?
By no means, absolutely not.
No, if they say it's too far.
It's potentially we won't need to.
Yeah, let's just sit in the chair, see what happens.
Let's sit back down in the dwarf chair.
Cool. Yeah, you sit down in the dwarf chair. You sit in the elf chair, Nyla, which is what we're going to refer to those as now. As you sit down in those chairs, nothing happens immediately. Then something in your pocket is slightly warm, Randall, and actually Nyla as well.
My pocket.
Is it the
What?
stones?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot I had that.
So the stone that Grandall has got and the lump of resin that Nyla has got have both gotten a bit warmer now.
Huh.
Obviously, I assume you take them out of your pockets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Examine them.
They're just like they're slightly warm. Elias, you can kind of see a vague kind of magic on them. They are not magical. They are being affected by magic. In a sense.
Yeah.
I put the lump of gold ore back on the table, sort of roughly where it was.
Nothing happens.
Dead center in
at
front
that
of me.
point.
I'll do the same.
As soon as you put it down, the candles light on the candelabras. And it happens quite slowly, but the orb on your bag, Nyla, begins to slowly glow brighter and brighter and brighter. And once that gets to like full glow, as it were, the four trees start glowing and they get brighter and brighter and brighter, and then the ones slightly further away, and it kind of spreads out from the center until this absolutely huge room is completely lit. And on the walls, on going down each side of the room, are two murals. One on each
This
side.
is the walls parallel with the chairs and on the four chairs on each side of the table. It's those walls, yeah?
No. The walls behind
one
your chair.
Behind
and
the
Nyla's
leader's
chair.
chairs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the four chairs are by the exit you came from, which is what I'm going to refer to as the elven side, and then the chairs, the dwarven side. There is also another doorway, very similar to the one you came through, in the opposite direction.
Is that the only door we can see from where we are?
It is, yes. And this room is square.
And how big from side to side, roughly? You can do it in terms of football pitches if it's easier.
It's
Probably not, because that would
me.
probably need, like Jack would need to know how big a football pitch was.
Absolutely
Well,
accurate,
no,
John.
but you can.
And are these like
I mean,
I
don't know. Like
British football
I know
pitches
roughly.
or American football
It's
pitches?
from doorway to doorway,
Why would it be
180 foot across.
Okay.
It's quite big.
Hmm.
And it's 90 foot tall, as you know.
Mhm.
And it's absolutely amazing when it's fully lit. The murals on the walls, they depict pretty much the same thing as the mural did on the way down. But you know how I said the mural on the wall on the way down was kind of like symbolic, not particularly good, like it's a mural, not an oil painting. This looks like they took a photograph. It
You
depicts
somehow busted onto the wall.
Yeah. And you realise it's not a war that it depicts. It's just the two races coming together. Like, it's not like they're not racing across a battlefield to fight. You just assumed that was what it was because of the way that it was kind of depicted and the fact that dwarves and elves don't get on. But this is much more obviously like the people aren't. They haven't got their bows. They have bows. The elves have bows and swords, but they're not like wielding them. They're just like they just have them. They're like ceremonial almost. The dwarves are depicted as the kind of a darker, kind of more grumpy-looking race, but in this level of detail, you can see that actually they're depicted holding like tools of their craft, like stonemasons' tools and picks and things. And actually, you realise that the reason why they've been depicted this way is because it's the things that, at this time of the mural being painted, it's probably the things that they were renowned for and best at. So the dwarves are craftsmen, whereas the elves are kind of known for like hunting and like protecting and guarding things. That's kind of their whole thing is that's what they do for the elven forest. And then it brings you to the figure in the middle. Now, neither you nor Nyla, Grandall, can see the human figure in the middle of the painting because they are directly behind the other one's chin.
Right.
Everybody else, however, and obviously you can see it when you get up, but just for the initial reaction at least, Elias, you can see that the figure of the man in the centre of this, and the murals are on each side identical. The elves coming from what we would refer to as the elven side, where you arrive from the dwarves coming from the other side. And this person in the middle is depicted as this human man in these two-tone robes with magic on his hands, and you realise that the magic on his hands are they are much more detailed and intricate, and you see that actually it's not just magic around his hands, it's magic flowing from the elves and magic flowing from the dwarves. And in the sky above this human figure is the depiction of the sun and the moon, and you realise that where the sun and the moon like overlap, there's kind of like the almost like the centre point of the mural, where the kind of the day and night kind of merge. There's like a shadow of an outline, and it's an outline of a tower. And it's only noticeable because like it's such a detailed painting, and it's like this tower that's not there. It's not like a painted, obviously a tower. It is just like an impression of a shape in the kind of the mixing of the day and the night, and the peak of which is sat between the sun and the moon. And you realise that this tower is encompassing the human, and that the elves and the dwarves are like kind of moving from the forest and from the mountains to this tower with this human in the centre of it, and it's it's not a war, it's a meeting of races with this human in the middle in this kind of ethereal tower.
Obviously, you can say we can only see the vague shape of this tower, but does it resemble the citadel in the Salt Lake?
No.
No? Okay. Interesting.
Does it resemble the tower that was in the centre of Stargrasp?
Did you see drawings?
I don't know, but I've got it noted.
There was a tower.
I don't think you saw any depictions of it, so you can't know for sure.
Because it was a town around a watchtower is what I've got. Okay, then no. Okay, right.
How does a wise swan react to this?
She is amazed. Like, she can't believe what she's seeing. She kind of looks a little bit teary, and she kind of turns to you and says, "This man, is he the one from my dreams, do you think? Is he a Clarion?"
I mean, both texts talk of him. He seems to be the thing uniting them, so perhaps.
I mean,
The texts were... I don't know.
like I assumed from just the way it sounds that a Clarion was an elf name, but I mean we're talking thousands of years ago. There's no way to know at the moment, not without finding more.
If only I could contact the elves.
If only I could contact Tackets.
I too would like to be able to contact my people.
I'm becoming increasingly more reluctant to let anyone else down here.
I do not understand how this place has gone so untouched if it is used as a place to be safe. If people come down here every time that there is a storm or a raid from the Scorn, surely someone would have found this place and explored it before now.
If they're afraid of what's down here, they probably didn't explore it beyond the bit they needed to go into to stay safe.
You know, we nearly didn't. We're here to explore. I could also see people getting put off by the front door spiders, you know?
Yes.
And
Do you think we go back where we came, or
I want to see what's on the dwarf side.
yeah, the doors are intriguing. And it seems to be a place that's quite friendly to Grandall and I, so maybe there's some weird secret tying our races together beyond God knows what this is. It's crazy.
I still do think that we should deal with the Scorned.
Aye.
Because Gary is incredibly wounded for a start.
I'm bleeding an awful lot.
And
I didn't want to make a fuss or anything.
there is absolutely no reason why we can't just come back down once that's dealt with.
Aye. Alright,
I
but
mean,
I'm making it known, if I die up there and I don't get to come back down, I'm going to be annoyed.
Second.
Aye. Alright, now the
It
dwarf
wasn't
and the
that
elf
long
are
ago,
agreeing,
Nyla,
I'm
that
starting to
you
worry.
weren't that keen on coming down here because you wanted to stay and help the people.
Yes, you're right. I'm being extremely selfish. We should go back, make sure that everyone has somewhere to escape down to. If the Scorn break the walls, they'll be safe down here.
Did you want to check on that?
100% down for like coming back
Yeah.
afterwards.
Aye.
100%. Yeah.
Did you want to check out / deal with the watery room before we go back upstairs?
It seems to be holding, and the water's coming. The door opens the right way to push the door closed. I think we just keep an eye on it.
Fair enough.
We should get back up top.
Aye,
Again,
aye.
we can check it out once we've dealt with the threat upstairs. We can,
yeah.
bearing in mind that when we do open the door, this room will become ever so slightly damper. I don't think there's enough water to flood it, but obviously the text might be lost.
I mean, I think we've
Water
gathered
damp.
everything we can from it already, haven't we?
Yes, so much to think about. But yes, you're right. Let's get Gary seen by someone, and let's see if we can help on the top
I'll
side.
be fine. It's not a problem.
Has Gary managed to have a
doesn't
short
look
rest
good.
while we've been fucking about?
you probably could have done if you really wanted it to be.
Does
If
he-
you really wanted to, Gary. You've been doing nothing else.
I do.
This is how intelligence is high enough to think of it.
So
Could probably
I'll
burn
go
another-
for my 1-1. I'll do a 1. Will check. Bam.
To a wanna.
It's a 4. Excellent. Right. So I get 6 hit points back.
Nice.
Excellent. Sweet.
Right, let's head back up then.
Days.
Cool. As you are leaving, once you get up from the chairs, the light will kind of start to fade, but it will take until you actually get to the door out for it to fade enough for you not to be able to see anymore. It's like essentially for as long as you sit on the chairs is for as long as it takes for the light to start to dim.
Hmm.
As you get towards what I'm going to refer to as the Elven door, you notice something written above it in Elvish.
What is it, Jack?
It says, "Our harmony can unmake the chaos."
I like that.
Yeah.
Bex, is Nyla taking the lamp with her?
Yeah.
Cool.
I have a cool magic thing. I've never had a cool magic thing before. This is my magic thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
you and I can touch and light stuff up. How cool
That's
is
what
that?
I was thinking. You know, once we get upstairs a bit, away from like this room, we'll see if it still works.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
As we're sort of like leaving or heading out, I'm just gonna go to Grandall and be like, "This is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, and I can't believe it's because our races came together. I mean, that's crazy, right?
Oh, it's batshit.
And I'm gonna like rub his hair, and the lamp's gonna turn on.
Yeah, I don't know that you actually can, given that I'm always wearing a hood. But
Oh well,
reach inside my hood and
yeah.
brush my never cleaned dwarven hair.
I'm very dexterous.
Don't. Oh, God's sake.
And I sort of like I giggle and run off.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Grandall
I'm doing
protests
Gary.
for a second, and then he's just like, "Oh, for God's sake, just let it happen."
So you get your way back up to the stairs without too much issue. Grandall, give me perception.
Okay. That's a fairly
detection.
Detection. What's my? That's an 11, which is a success.
Coming at it from this direction, you notice something unusual about the kind of the top of this like corridor, like the ceiling, which is the archway onto where the intersection is.
Yeah.
You think that this is an opened secret door.
Okay. Can I see any kind of mechanisms that would activate it?
Yeah, give me another detection. Now that you've noticed it, just wanted to see whether you would.
That's a 7, which is a great success.
Yeah. So from this side, there is a relatively obvious, comparatively for example, like crack in the stone that you can kind of like wiggle your fingers into, and like there's like a press button that you can like slide it closed, and this door just slides out silently from the ceiling and just shuts. I don't know whether you did this with everybody on one side or what.
No, I would have waited till everybody had gone through and then kind of nipped back.
So from the other side of the door, that's a smooth stone wall.
That's fine dwarven craftsmanship.
You can open it again, and then from the other side of the door, it's really hard to find.
Yeah.
But it's like a similar crack, but it's like right on the crease where the floor and the wall meet. So you have to like get on your hands and knees and like put your hand up underneath like the bottom of the wall almost to be able to close it.
Right. Well, I think I figured out why no one's found this before. I demonstrate the amazing dwarven craftsmanship of this silent, invisible door.
Very cool.
Aye. Well, we'll bear that in mind if we've got Scorn close behind us when we come back down next.
How long have we been down here, Jack? Roughly.
A couple of hours, probably.
Yeah, probably about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I definitely think we should be heading upstairs.
Aye, let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Double speed.
Well,
I get
Gary can't. So.
I know, I remember.